we have Andy, and I'm sure Paul's around there somewhere from Southern Adirondacks. We have John Davison from Davison's All Natural Gym. We have Craig Quilter from the Kilted Sawyer, and we have Neil from the Riverside Wooden Farm. Welcome, guys, and welcome back. This week we also have, or this month, we also have special guests, Eric and Matthew from Bearded Lumber, and they're going to join us, and hopefully we can ask them some questions that'll be mind-boggling. I'd like to see them bog right down. Hope you guys like that introduction. That's our new intro. We have a lot of people here already. We want to welcome everybody. I see John has joined us. Sawbucks is here. Chris with Out of the Woods. Hi, Chris. And let me see. I don't see anybody else putting comments up there right now. So we're going to turn it over to Eric and Matthew at the moment and let them tell us about their operation and what they do. And then we'll be open for discussion.
Hey, guys. We'll tell you, we greatly appreciate you inviting us in. We run a sawmill business here in Western North Carolina. We do full service custom sawing. I also run a Wood-Mizer dehumidification kiln, and we run a winding 5-head motor. So we're overjoyed to be able to take a piece of lumber, a log, a tree out of somebody's yard and turn it into a finished product that they could put back in their home and love on for all eternity. So that's our goal, is the ultimate recycler, taking a tree that no longer has use in the forest and turn it right back into something they can enjoy. As well as we run a YouTube channel, Bearded Lumber. I never could have dreamed I enjoy what we do on YouTube as much as we do. And we appreciate each and every one of you watching.
It's a hobby that got way out of hand.
Yeah.
They started in the yard and then it just kept growing and growing and growing. But it's fun, and most days it doesn't even feel like work.
Yeah.
You guys have figured it out then. That's what it's supposed to be like.
It's some days stressful. You guys know, anytime you run a business, there's highs and lows. But we truly enjoy it. I enjoy getting to work with my son, my family every day. I spent 35 years in the corporate world. I know what it's like to get up at 3:30 every day to go to work, and also know what it's like to not have to do that anymore. So guys out there that are contemplating getting into the wood business, it may be a way to get out above that corporate thumb. I raised a family. I don't regret it, but I don't want to go back to ever doing it again.
Amen.
Now, I love how Eric says it's not even like work, and then, I mean, Matthew says it's not even like work, and Eric's like, yeah.
He's the one here right now, just behind the machine. I'm the one doing all the rest of the work nowadays.
I caught that too.
We caught that. We don't miss anything here. So you guys just bought a new LT70, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We were pleased and overjoyed. Part of our long-term plan we had a LT35, an excellent machine, good place to start. But we had reached its maximum potential level, and we needed something faster, bigger, wider. It wasn't vanity; it was the fact we had to have it, and we're really enjoying the capabilities this machine has that the 35 just couldn't even imagine.
I can imagine. It's a big difference. Quickly, I just want to welcome Bruce Weltley and Rick Seeley. Thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate it. We're going to try to acknowledge our guests as they come on, or our viewers as they come on and talk on the chat here. So we're going to interrupt a little bit here and there. All right, guys, you got any questions for Eric or Matthew? Let's go. Shoot.
You like the 70 electric?
Yes. The one thing people won't tell you about a 70 electric versus a 70 diesel, all the moving functions are electric, and the adjustments are a little more finicky than a hydraulic mill where you can just turn a pressure gauge or a restrictor. It's a lot more finicky dialing in the perfect feel you want to have as you're engaging with the electronics. But overall, compared to any mill with a diesel motor, the energy consumption is negligible compared to diesel, fuel filters, oil changes, all the maintenance that goes along with it.
And I can be at the other end of the building and holler at him, and he could actually hear me and understand what I'm saying versus a big old loud diesel going.
Yeah,
that helps.
Safer that way.
our vacuum system makes more noise than the mill does. The only noise the mill makes is when you actually introduce the saw into the fluid, you're going to make some noise sawing. But when it's just sitting there cycling the blade,
That's fine. Now, Eric, there's a question down here for you. How much has the power bill been? Just wondering what the cost difference was.
I just got last month's power bill and I couldn't tell we even turned it on.
Yeah.
Did you
But
turn it
I
on before then?
Yeah, but you got to realize that we run a 5-head molder
I mean, you can go there and just watch the dial spin when that thing's running.
and we run a kiln that never stops. So what little bit this thing uses,
You'll never see it.
you worry about.
Okay. Yep.
Now, how long have you actually been running the 70?
5 weeks, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. The operator's gotten a lot better. We'll just say
I
that.
was going to say those remote controls are probably a lot different, huh? Try to get
Yes.
used to those.
You do everything on that mill with 2 hands and your thumbs, depending on
Isn't that
which button
crazy?
you're mashing. And it's no different. You guys that run tractors with single joystick or skid steer with 2 joysticks. It's just muscle memory, putting butt time in the seat, and making yourself learn. Now, I don't have to think. It's just do, and that's the only way I can tell you is you just got to put time in the seat and let your brain get used to it, and you're good to go.
Now, what's the biggest thing that stands out? The number one thing that you like about this mill that you didn't have on the other mill?
Cutting width and depth.
That's a whole lot
So
more
what-
than that 35 ever was.
We went from a maximum of 20 inches, and if you made a 20 inch with that 25 horse Kohler, she was crying. You really had to wait on it. And we only had about an 8-inch drop unless you slid the cant over and got it out from under the diagonal brace of the 35. This machine's got a 12.5-inch drop. If you didn't have the drag back on it, it'd be over 14. But just like it sets, I can cut a 34 width cant, squared basically.
Nice.
And we can cut in half upward right at 25. If you get a cant down to 25 inches, you can cut it in half, cut it in quarters to quarter saw. So,
I'm guessing your hydraulics are faster too.
Oh, drastically so.
yes. Yes.
Have you done any videos on the Simple Set 2? You got the Simple Set 2 on there, right?
Yes. The last one we did, it hadn't come out. I got into a lot more depth of how many different layers of settings that are in this machine, as far as down mode, pattern mode, up mode.
Right.
Wood-Mizer did a great job with this. There's a lot in there. The only thing I'll tell them to add one day is it would be nice to have a keyboard calculator, because if you go into your presets and it's set at 1 and you want to raise it to 10, you just have to hold the button. It'd be a whole lot easier if you had a little numerical calculator where I could just go 10, 0, enter.
Yeah.
Other than that, I love it.
Because when you're going through it, it counts in 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a long way to get up when you have to move it around.
But it's a great tool. It's not an entry level tool, guys. Don't young sawyers do not get envious. You got to get a long ways down the road before you need to spend this kind of money. This is not mobile. I wouldn't even consider a 70 diesel hardly mobile because there's so much involved with moving this table. Craig's got one on his 50. You don't want to take that table apart, do you, Craig?
No.
Once you get it set up, you want it to leave it.
Well, mine's a little bit different than yours.
But
Mine's a
yeah,
little bit different.
if I wanted a mobile mill, I'd have kept my 35 and we just had 2 of them. But we're beyond that.
I know what you
Sold it.
mean by your upgrade too. I had a Timber King 1600 and went to a diesel 2020, and that's a world of difference. It ain't quite the 70, but it's on up there.
Yeah. Well, it's still a sawmill. It goes A to B.
That's right.
It only cuts as good as the operator or the quality of wood. You guys know how many times you have to explain to a customer, I can't make number 1 grade out of your number 3 log.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but we're enjoying it. We had some learning issues, and when we first got it, the Wood-Mizer was excellent to help us through them. There's video out on that. Had a couple things that they had to step up the plate, and they did, and I'm very proud of them.
Good answer that one.
Okay, I see a question there about USB. Anybody catch that?
Yeah, I saw it. Here, I'll get it back up there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you see that question, Eric?
There's a way to get in there and do that, but that's more than likely going to void the warranty.
Yeah.
When the warranty's out, I might look into actually doing that.
Yeah.
Adding in a numerical keypad so that we can speed up those inputs.
Yeah, I see the question on there from Nathan Elliott, and yes, we're going to get those little drag back squares put on there. We have been behind the 8 ball for the last 2 or 3 weeks. All clarity. When we put this mill in, we expected a day or two kind of learning, and then we was off to the races. Well, that day or two turned into 2 weeks. So we lost 2 weeks of sawing, and we're just now getting back into a full production mode. But I got some little squares from Nathan that weld on the drag backs to help. When the board comes back, it'll stay sitting up on it and it won't drop off until the mill actually goes back the other way.
No, I've been wanting to get mine done so bad. I've been wanting to get mine done so bad that keeping that board from falling off too soon.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, are those autographed by Robert Milton?
They're actually.
I know Nathan sent them to you, but those should be autographed from Robert Milton.
They're actually right here.
There you go. Those should be autographed by Mr. Robert.
Yeah. But they'll be going on the mill shortly. We're beyond I hope all the problems we had, and we're in full production, and this will help with the drag back function.
What about adding that roller to the back of your table?
Hadn't seen the
Does
issue
that
yet.
fit into your scheme? That your layout at your place?
When we move everything again, yes.
How we got it set up right now, it's kind of not
wouldn't need
useful for us. We drag it back to the end of the table and then have to pick it up and move it for now.
Yeah. We kind of jumped the gun on getting the mill before we did our addition, but opportunity was there, so you take it.
Yeah.
Does that mill do the single power roller or 2?
It don't have any power rollers.
It doesn't have a power roller on it?
No, it's just got the drag backs on it.
Yeah, if you buy the European version of the Super 70, it has 2 powered rollers that'll actually roll your cant back to you.
Right.
Craig, Eric doesn't need a power roller. He has a Matthew.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. For now, and then it'll be my nephew or my son coming out here and doing it for me.
There you go.
All right, guys. I just want to say hello to Nomad that joined us in the comments, and Dave Donnelly. How you doing, Dave? If you guys joining us in the comments want to tell us where you're from, that'd be interesting too, because we got one here from the UK.
Yep, John.
That's got to be for you too, there, Eric. Huh? That question there.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
How's it feel power wise going through the wood compared to the diesel?
I've never run a 70 diesel. I know Wood-Mizer used to put a 50 horse on this machine, and truly, I wish they still did. When you're powering through, I cut some 28-inch thick poplar slabs the other day, and I could have went faster if I'd had more power. So,
What's the horsepower rating on the electric motor you have on there?
30 horse.
30 horse.
It's still a whole lot better than that 25 horse Kohler we had.
Well, yeah.
Hey, that's a great motor for that size machine. But I always said if something happened to that 25 horse Kohler, I would probably put at least a 35 back in its place. But those things are expensive. You're not going to replace it just on a whim. You only do it because you have to.
Right. And, that's what I always tell people about it. Any sawmill, it doesn't matter whether it's Timber King or Wood-Mizer or any of them. Wood-Mizer doesn't want to put, you need a 25 on that. You have to have a 25 on that.
Right.
Okay. But you don't have to have a 35. So Wood-Mizer doesn't want to put anything on there that you don't have to have because that's just more money.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so when Wood-Mizer says that the 35 is, costs you this much money, when Timber King has one that costs you here and Woodland Mills has one that costs you here, Wood-Mizer wants to compete with those same,
Right.
what I mean, and keep their prices low too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you upgrade from the 35 to the LT40, then you get that power option. Right. You can step up to the Yanmar if you want to spend the money. And I recommend that. Somebody's upgrading to a 40 or a 50. You definitely want to get the diesel, get the horsepower, the torque, because that's what you're buying.
Right. It's just like the jacks, the Wood-Mizer jacks on the LT35. They're not this. They're those ones you have to pry up and stuff like that. But and they suck. But not everybody wants to pay for the nice jacks. You know what I'm saying? Some people take that 35 home and it sits there and it never moves and they never jack it up. And they're fine.
Yeah, if I bought them, it would have been a waste of money because the last couple of years it sat right here behind us.
Right.
We pulled it out once a year to steam clean it up. Other than that, it never moved. And this one won't move because it's bolted to the floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the tires off it?
I haven't made myself do it yet. When we move it,
Joe?
When we move it the next time, yes. Hey, Joe Main.
And when are y'all going to get Joe on here again?
There you go.
Got to get him on camera.
The tires on that 70 aren't support.
No, they're actually about that far off the ground right now.
Are they? Okay. I didn't know.
I didn't either till we put the jack stands on it. I went to step on the tire and like they ended up on the floor. No, it's like jumping on a trailer tire. You only do that once.
Don't you love it when you step on that tire, wipe out?
Lord of mercy.
All right, guys, we've been joined by Joe Main. How you doing, Joe? And Fun with Cars have joined us. If you guys out there is viewing this have any questions, pop them up there, and we'll present them to Eric and Matthew.
Yeah, it looks like we got them all over the country again. Georgia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, northern Minnesota.
Minnesota.
What blades do y'all run? Oh, because I know I talked to Joe a few months ago, and he talked me into getting to them 739 turbos. I mostly cut pine, and I don't know of a better blade out there, in my opinion.
No, I tell people don't get hung up on it. It depends on your wood where you're at. Yeah. In Western North Carolina, with our southern yellow pine and our white pine, a 55,000 turbo 7 is the way to go.
Yeah. Right.
It's stiff enough that you can cut through the knots in a hurry. If you try to run a 10 degree, it's just going to do this the whole time. But your wood in your area may be different. You're cutting spruce out there with Craig. His wood's different than my wood.
That's right.
So about the only time we ever change off a turbo 7 is we're cutting a locust post or some really dry hickory. Other than that, it's always a turbo 7 for us.
Yeah.
See what Steve wrote? Looks like a beard convention. Good one, Steve. Good one.
That's part of it when you're woodworking. You got to start growing the beard out.
That's right.
That's it.
What's your problem there, John? We're waiting on you to get that down there a little bit longer.
No.
We're waiting on Andy's not shaved.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. If it gets any longer than this, it starts itching. Can't stand it. Man,
Does all your wives like your beard?
Yes.
Don't
Hey,
have a wife. Don't care.
Tell you a quick story about my grandpa. He growed a little goatee, and Grandma told him, "You're gonna shave that mess." When I seen him in his casket, it was down to here.
Goodness.
He wore it to the last day, brother, down to here.
I see Rita's Hardwoods has joined us. Rita, do you have a sawmill operation? Rita's Hardwoods.
Yes, she comments on some of our videos a good bit. It's good to hear from you, Rita.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Kingman, Indiana. How far is that from Chicago? How far is it from Indianapolis?
Why does everything have to revolve around Chicago? You're not even near Chicago.
Well, because everybody, I'm
knows
2 hours
Chicago.
south of Chicago.
That's not near Chicago, John.
If there
He's
wasn't
only
any
2 hours
traffic,
south. Come on,
it'd
Rick.
only be 60 miles.
All right, let me ask you a question. If you throw a rock at Indiana and you throw a rock at Chicago, which one's going to hit first?
Yeah, Indiana's going to hit first.
Exactly.
But that, I'm still only 60 miles from Chicago, maybe 80.
Well, we're
All
only
right.
125 miles from New York City, but I don't say we're near New York City.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah,
we're like close to Nomad. He's in New Hampshire. That's close. That's only a
You're
couple
that
hours away.
close to New York City.
No,
What's that?
You're only 20 miles from New York City.
No,
no.
200 miles.
200. Okay, I didn't think you was that close.
No, we're in Adirondack Park. No, we're nowhere near the city.
You get away from the city. New York State is a whole different place.
Yeah, I've got a good buddy of mine, the Wood-Mizer owner. He grew up in the Adirondack, and he said our little spot in the road back here was like a metropolitan compared to where he grew up. So
We're so far out in the middle of nowhere, we don't have any cell service. Andy and Paul don't have cell service either.
A lot of times we don't. Around the house, we have to work off Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so do we.
We had
we live
to
here.
where we're building. We had to run 2 miles of power just to get to where I'm building my house from the closest power line.
Wow,
That had to
I guess
cost
the
them
fire
money.
company loved you.
Oh yeah, they did.
Rick, Phil Sawyers joined us. Hello, Phil. Glad you came on.
Kingman,
Hey, Phil, how you doing? Yep, I see that. He comments on our stuff a lot.
Quite a bit. Yep.
Firewood, Dave.
Dave Donald.
Exactly.
As
Firewood.
much as I can give away, we'll give away. But people around here got natural gas and propane. They kind of lazy.
Most of mine turns into smoke.
Yeah.
Not the best use for it.
Hey, Neil,
Yes, sir.
we're up to 3,000 steaks in 6 weeks. Thank you very much.
There you go. I'm glad somebody's getting some benefit from that.
Listen to Neil. There you go. You're welcome.
We got
I'm glad somebody's benefiting from that.
Yeah, the trees aren't.
we got a 2,000.
Speaking of hugging trees,
We got a 2,000 steak order pending right now.
Good deal. That's awesome. That's a lot of cutting to cut them small things, isn't it?
Oh
no,
man,
not bad. It's not bad. No,
Oh, one shaking, one shaking. Yeah, no shaking.
Yeah.
not
The
really.
one that's retired shaking his head.
Well, of course, because he don't want to work no more, Craig.
Uh,
He don't want to work anymore, you know.
that's right.
Well, we had two brothers that worked together at work, and then one retired. Now one's telling the other one, "Well, do it tomorrow because you're home all the time." You don't understand. I work.
Yeah, but you notice all the two brothers' films or videos now are just like one brother video. You can't wait for the other one to get home from work. Oh no!
No.
Oh, it cut you out, little brother.
Getting invaded by the Leroy invader.
Yeah, they found every mud hole they could find today.
Yeah.
They stink. One
I
of
see
them are red.
I see in the comments down there the fun with cars. How much do you get per stake? In my area, I'm getting, because I cut in bulk. I haven't done too many jobs for the small little bundles of 10 or whatever bundles of 20 or anything like that. But for the bulk price, I get
Go ahead, Tim.
about 50 cents.
Go ahead, John.
We
There
get
you go.
we cut specifically hardwood stakes, and we get $2 for a 6 foot and $1.50 for a 4 foot.
That's right.
But if you work that out mathematically, it's a little over $3 a board foot for the wood, actually.
Yeah,
So
and I'm
pretty
getting
good price.
about I want to say, I forget what it is, like 80 or 90 cents, something like that. I figure it comes
For
out to be
pine, that's not
for
bad.
just fine. For just fine.
Yeah,
And not sharpened.
Yeah, and not sharpened.
yeah we
That's a big
sharpen
thing.
ours.
That's a big thing. You
That's
got a
a
little
bonus.
extra time in yours.
Yeah, but it goes pretty quick. We got 2 sharpeners, and that goes pretty quick.
Yeah, I like them. I like them sharpeners you got.
They're nice.
That's a good idea. Attaching that straight to a little gas motor. That works.
Yeah,
good.
it works great.
Yeah, that's what you call logger ingenuity. At its
Absolutely.
finest.
Hey, Craig,
Yeah.
you have some new fans that came out today.
Oh, nice. He hasn't blown over.
No.
For all you people watching, Craig, the log man, we named Craig because Craig and the log man look alike. Craig's wife said so. Didn't she, Craig?
She did. She about fell off her bed when she seen him. Quite the resemblance.
Insult time.
Yeah.
Nah, they love Craig.
I
Go
wish
ahead.
I wish I was getting $3 a steak for the amount I was cutting.
Yeah, you can talk me into cutting them for $3 a piece.
I guarantee it.
Actually, it's not too bad cutting them. I mean,
No.
you cut them one way and then stand them all the flitches up and cut them the other way, and you really get quite a few steaks out of a log. But
I've gotten some of them pines I've cut. I've gotten close to 500 out of one of them big trees.
Yeah.
Cut a 24, 26-inch tree. I mean, 16 foot long, and then you cut that into 2-3 different sections
yeah,
at 5 feet. I mean, that's a
That's a
stack
push.
of 500 in a tree. That's a lot.
the best I think we did is the last maple we cut up. I think we got 400 6-foot stakes out of a 12-foot maple log.
That's
Yep.
nice, ain't it?
Phil, 3 horsepower is on
3.5.
we have on our 3.5 on our
3.5.
sharpeners.
Don't sell them short.
Don't forget that.
Gotta
hat.
put the half.
Sorry, halftime.
Half matters.
Halftime.
Oh,
Matthew, do you have to put up with this from your dad? Oh my
Every
god.
day.
Oh my god.
Now imagine when I'm editing videos and I get to hear, "Hey guys, 501 times." My wife has made me start wearing headphones to edit videos.
Hey guys.
Me too.
Hey, guys.
That's hilarious.
My biggest edit is half the stuff ends up on the editing floor because of the F-bomb.
oh, well, now you can't be doing all that.
Oh, so Neil, you said that you have a new newsletter coming out. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, we just once you sign up, we put the newsletter out about every 10 days. I fill out just tips and tricks and hacks, especially if you're just starting out or maybe an intermediate saw. You're just looking for a little more information. A lot of things that I've struggled with, just learning the saw and probably most every sawyer goes through it and trying to figure out a lot of ins and outs of drying wood and how to cut and how to stack and the best place to put it, store it, you know what I mean? Just all the ins and outs and trying to cover all of them basics. And especially we're going to start branching out and trying to help other small hobby sawyers grow, maybe and expand and start doing the finished product deal, or like with the tomato steaks. I mean, look, for instance, I mean, there's a y'all are testimonials right there that it helped at least some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we thank you every day.
So how do they find out about your newsletter?
Riverside Wood. I wish I could post it up there. I guess I could put it in the comments.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Where you could join. Let me see. I gotta connect.
I heard about it on your last video. So is it on your link?
It is. It's on my most recent video I put out today. There's a link to go sign up.
Perfect.
You could go on there and sign up and start receiving them.
Yeah, if you want to type it in the comments, go ahead and do that too. That'd be awesome.
Andy, is Paul watching?
Yep.
Tim, why don't you play that little video? Play that little video, Tim. There, I sent you earlier.
Of the. Oh, hang on a second. Let me find it.
See if Paul recognizes anything here.
Yeah.
Is that the one he showed me earlier?
Probably so.
Hang tight. I'm getting to it. I gotta find it.
How much stuff we got in files?
John added a bunch tonight.
You don't mind if I put you in a video, do you?
Nope.
Take pictures with Craig. Oh, wait a minute. We're not done yet.
Oh, son.
Fine. That was it. It's breaking up, Rick. It didn't download right.
All right.
Hold
Yeah, I went up to Paul and Andy's Thursday. Andy was kind enough to give us some apple trees, and Paul threw some.
He did. He gave you apple trees?
Yeah.
Oh,
I forget.
Andy? You gave Rick apple trees?
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute.
You went to Paul and Andy's?
You told me you were going to be in trouble.
Oh, my God. I got to go now, guys. My God.
I forgot to mention it. Well, the significance of those videos that you just put on, some of that cherry Paul gave me while I was up there.
Exactly, yeah. I recognize the gnome hats and the other ones.
Oh, what, did he steal it? He's always threatening to steal it from you guys.
We forced it on him. Actually, he stole it because we said we were going to make a pallet out of it.
That would have probably hurt him worse if you did, Andy. That would have been great. Get that on video. Watch him cry.
Yeah, Paul and Andy have more cherry than they know what to do with, and they built a pallet out of cherry. And I absolutely went insane because cherry is like the #1 wood here.
I can't believe you went there and didn't even say nothing to me.
I did. I forgot to tell you about that.
You're in trouble. Wait till after the show.
He hid the wood too when he got back.
Yeah.
I did tell you I went to Hudson Wednesday, right?
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, me? You went to Hudson?
You didn't tell him about the new mill yet, Rick?
The new mill? What new mill?
Oh, sorry about that.
Wait a minute. How does everybody know everything and I don't know nothing? How is this? Tell me, how is this?
Craig knows everything about everybody.
Wow. Okay.
All right, so Paul Z has joined us. How you doing, Paul? I get 40 cents for my hardwood steaks bundles.
All right, mister, that's enough from you too. Not that funny. What is that?
How do you like that?
Oh, you got a hat. Okay.
So,
All right, I'm sorry.
so Eric,
Go ahead.
the 70 runs an 1.5 inch wide blade, right?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And you should notice a difference with that too. It goes a little faster through the wood.
Yes. And on the, I'm not sure on Craig's 50, do they have the option for the high-speed blade guides?
Yeah, I have those on there.
That makes a world difference. There's two little flat pads in front of each roller that you got a 10,000 space between top and bottom, and that's the complete amount that blade can deflect before it hits something.
Okay.
And
But those things shoot sawdust everywhere.
yeah, there's a downside to everything.
You want to keep your blade clean with those height speed rollers.
Yes. Well, we run a different lubricant. We've tried everything in the world. We won't go into the lubricant debate.
Thank you.
Whoa,
We're here to talk about hugging trees today.
that's good.
I love trees.
I'm going to cut everyone down how back I possibly can. I'll teach you.
We just had them 9 18-wheeler loads of pines brought in.
Oh my goodness.
What?
We wouldn't have space for that here.
9 18-wheeler loads. These guys I know around here clear land for a living and build houses on it to sell. They into real estate.
Yep.
They either burn them or get rid of them, and they were right down the road, so I said haul them.
Oh, same here. I get tree
Absolutely.
companies call me. Hey, yeah, just bring them on. Come
Yeah,
on.
just bring them. I mean, you can always throw logs away that might ruin, but if you get in a bind and you can't get trees, you can't make the sale if you don't have the tree.
Exactly. You can't cut what you don't have. I'll chance a few rotting on me here and there to have it laying here when the opportunity arises, because customers, they don't call you 6 months ahead. They call you 6 minutes ahead.
Yeah, they need
Right.
it yesterday.
Yeah. Most times those get the yesterday price.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So Neil, you use logs that are trees that are being taken down anyway. So you're utilizing those logs where normally they would just either chip them up or burn them, right?
They're not even chipping them. I mean, these guys go in here and clear a 1 acre or a half acre or a 3 acre. You know what I mean? Nothing worth pulling chipping equipment in there, because your logging companies to chip something like that, I mean, that's a lot of time and effort, and it might take them for 6 acres or so. It might take them an hour or two to really get the job done, and it ain't
Right.
even worth their time.
Our local chip mill closed down. Pretty much, they were selling to a paper manufacturer, and the paper manufacturer went out of business. So there is just a little market left for pulpwood, and the majority of the loggers around here, they'll take what's a log, and the rest of it they leave there for the homeowner to deal with.
That's
Right.
You know, I had a guy to come bought some. I got some red maple, and what else did he buy? Couple small pieces of black walnut. He makes turkey calls,
Oh.
and he was looking for some specific hardwoods, some nice hardwoods, and he contacted me a couple of days ago, and it's something I've never cut. A guy specifically asked for Hollywood, for a holly tree.
Yep.
And I've seen them, and I've never cut them. I've cut them down, but
Nothing special.
it's just, it looks really snow white. I mean, it almost looks like a gum kind of.
Yeah, it's a more dense poplar around here,
Right.
but
Gum trees are worth sawing nowadays.
yeah. You guys ever saw any sweet gum?
Yeah, I cut two sinker logs the other day of gum, and that stuff is beautiful.
That whole wall is tongue groove, big groove, sweet gum.
They call it poor man's walnut.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. It has some bad habits, but once you get past them, it's a very good indoor wood. It has no uses outdoors, but
Yeah, it's pretty.
Well, Neil, I never thought magnolia was that pretty. My God, that was beautiful.
You seen that? That is.
Oh my God, the spalting in it. That was
Well, magnolia, when you first cut it, I would guess. I mean, it's just really bland. It's just one solid bland color. I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot of character. You have to let that log sit, and it don't take long. 6 months. When you see the bark start slipping, you got color. I've cut magnolia a bunch. I've got a bunch because it's everywhere down here.
Is that classified as a hardwood?
Yeah,
Magnolia.
I
Yeah.
guess
it's
so.
a
It is.
hardwood.
Yeah.
But I've cut mantelpieces out of it. I've cut slabs. I mean, I've cut a bunch in that same job.
Does it spalt or have ambrosia like maple?
No,
It's-
it's spalt.
It's spalts big time.
Beautiful. It was beautiful.
Where I got all them pine trees I was talking about earlier, he had taken down a few magnolias and threw them in the fire before I got there, and I was like, hey, he said, can you do anything with these magnolias? So I ended up getting one 18-wheeler load of magnolia. I'm going to let it spalt, and then I'm going to do V-groove with it.
Nice.
You threw that
One of the
water on
cars
there
was
and
asking
that
if-
just popped. I said, oh,
Yeah.
my God, that popped.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's real pretty.
You ought to be getting
Now,
$1 million
Craig,
a piece for those.
Greg, you source your logs. Your trees come in dead, right?
Yeah, correct. Everything I use standing dead.
So everything you're cutting is standing dead timber that normally would just go to the birds or bugs, right?
It already has. Basically, some of it already has. Some of the issues they have with the logging here is they have to get in there and kind of pick what's off the ground to get to work. So they have to high grade through what can be taken up off the ground that's still solid or not, and before they start logging actually. But yeah, everything I get is 20% or less.
Fun with Cars asks, is Live Edge still popular? I think it's popular in our area. And Neil, obviously with you.
I sell some. To be honest with you, I just started advertising my slabs because I cut a bunch and I wanted to kind of get a little inventory before I started advertising, because I have run a lot of it through the kiln. I wanted to get the moisture down. I've cut some to where I've just let it air dry for months on end. I think my biggest slabs I have are pecan slabs, and I will sell them jokers. They, at the widest point of this pecan slab, is almost, I think it's almost 6 foot wide and they're 11 feet long.
Wow.
John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm still selling the Live Edge. Live Edge still popular in the 2-inch.
Some species
selling-
more than others.
Well, yeah, walnut. I'm out of white oak. Walnut's popular. I love cherry, so I kind of push the cherry. You know, that's
I'm not
just
even
my
going to
favorite
ask
wood.
Andy because I'm mad at him. Eric, you guys sell any Live Edge, or is it all?
When I cut it and
Conventional.
have it dry available, we can get rid of it. But then there's just two of us. We can't keep our inventory up on East and Quarter oak, red oak, white oak, pine, poplar, white pine, trying to keep up with our tongue and groove, V-groove inventory. That's why we got this. We needed upper production to keep up.
Well, what would you say is your biggest seller of what type of wood? Red oak?
Pine. We sell them
Pine?
not necessarily framing, but more finishing. People doing 1x10s for board and batten, 1x8s for lap siding, as well as the tongue and groove, V-groove.
And
I tell all new sawyers guys, you can't do everything. Pick a lane in the area you work. Pick a species that you can get. Here we get red oak, white oak, hickory, maple, poplar, white pine, yellow pine. Stay in your lane and do what you can do in your market.
And we cut 2 lengths. We cut 8 foot and 12 foot.
Most of the time.
Yep.
If you want something
Yep.
different, that's a special order.
That's the way we are, 8 and 4.
Yeah.
Andy, how's Live Edge going with you guys?
We don't sell much. We actually had a viewer stop by and take some Live Edge for a building project up by Hinckley. But
Oh, nice.
mostly we do some Live Edge, and we usually bundle them up as a bowl and strap them down to dry. We've got a bunch of stuff out there we need to sell. We're starting to get a collection that we can't possibly use, so we've got to get rid of stuff. But my preference is lumber. I like milling lumber, hardwood lumber, but I don't like the Live Edge stuff as much. And as a hobbyist, I'd rather do that.
The cherry
So,
salt lumber.
in about 30
Andy,
years is I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
so Andy, you guys source your logs from sick or damaged trees on your property and tree service, right?
Yes, we really even haven't had any need to cut anything down. We're constantly harvesting either dead or damaged trees, blow over. We've had wind events here. As a matter of fact, we bought the mill in the fall of what? What year? What year did we buy the mill? 2019, we bought the mill, and the spring of 2020, we had a huge wind event that blew over some gorgeous old white pine and cherry. So we still have some of those logs. We have so much, we were just overwhelmed with it. So we're still whittling away at it, but the white pine
Right.
is
So you're actually helping your forest by taking these damaged trees out, dead and
exactly,
damaged
yeah.
trees. Cut down on the bugs and stuff too. I'd like to say hello to Floyd Brennan. He has joined us. Hi, Floyd. How you doing?
Hey, Floyd.
Oh, Floyd.
John Davison. Where do you source your logs from?
Mine are from. Here's a weird one. Mine are from the Nature Conservancy. I'm harvesting the white pine out of the Nature Conservancy. So they're turning it into a oak savanna, and they want all the white pine gone out of there. The people who owned it before them, who donated it to them, planted a bunch of white pine trees, and then they donated the land to the Nature Conservancy, and the Nature Conservancy wants to get rid of the white pine. So that's where I get a lot of my white pine, is right out of there. But a lot of the other ones is log yard. I'm doing a neighbor's leftover logging. So the logger goes in there and takes all of the 8 and 12-foot white oak, and if there's 6 feet left on that white oak, they just don't take it. You know, if there's a 6-foot log that I can get out of it, it may have a knot in it or something, may have 2 knots in it, but I can live edge that white oak. You know, so mine's a lot of logger cleanup. I have my own woods. I have a lot of red oak dying in my own woods that I'm trying to thin out and harvest. And I have another neighbor's woods that I take the blowdown out of. And her white pines are snapping off right at the top, you know, snapping off.
Right.
I'm taking a lot of those out.
So just off the top of your head, do you know why the Nature Conservancy is trying to switch it over to oak, or is it just something they're doing?
So that's what it originally was.
Okay.
Was an oak savanna. So, and they decided that when they got it donated to them, that was just one of the goals, you know, was to turn it into an oak savanna. So they're actually after I get a lot of this white pine out, they also want the cherry out of there. They want the maple out of there, and then they want the walnut out of there also. So, you know, it's just, and so it's not like an overnight event that this is going to turn into a, oak savanna. But over the years, as you, like, they had loggers come in and take out a bunch of white pine, and that they found out was a mistake. The white pine are in like a 4-acre area in the middle of this forest.
Right.
And when you take out all of those white pine in one area like that, the tree just to the east of it hasn't had any wind in 40 years, 80 years. And now all of a sudden it gets wind and it goes over.
Absolutely.
So they started losing a lot of their oaks that they wanted to keep. A lot of their cherries were blowing down. And I said, you can't just turn this into an oak savanna tomorrow. You've got to selectively take these trees out, or you're just going to have more and more wind damage as they blow down.
Right. Yeah,
so it's been a slow process.
Yeah. So Tim and I, we basically, like Paul and Andy, we take damaged and dying trees off our property to turn into crafters wood, and we also have a stump dump not too far from us, and whatever good stuff gets dumped in there, we utilize it. We turn it into lumber for people to use.
Crafter's box.
Crafters
Yep.
shed.
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 We don't do box anymore. It's shed.
Tell you that.
You don't put your hardwood in the box anymore.
Shed.
That's just bad.
Nice,
Why would
Craig.
you not? I mean, you might
Shed,
as well.
Shed, Craig.
I would.
But,
Don't
yeah,
put it in
That
the
was
shed.
an
Just put it in
accident.
the box.
But-
It's a lot easier.
but we did have a lot of crafters wood coming out of the shed today.
Good.
Well, that's good.
That's always a bonus.
That's
Yeah.
a bonus.
It was a bonus, all right.
We'd like to
Make
say
room
hello
for
to
some more wood.
Ryan. He's joined us.
RYN. Riverside Wooden Farm is talking on there. Who's talking for you, Riverside Wooden Farm?
Well, that's Neil.
That's
I
me.
know. Is he talking, or is your wife talking, or are your kids talking?
I get on there and message and comment
Oh, okay.
and talk. And
Well,
if you see
thank
like
you.
a while ago when you seen all the smiley faces, that's my son in the next room on the phone.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
what I figured.
He is a character.
Boy, that dude's a thrill a minute.
So,
Apple don't fall far from the tree there, does it, buddy?
I guess they got to learn somewhere.
All right, so let's get into some tree hugging, John.
time for some tree hugging.
Yeah, baby.
Cutting the trees to save the forest. There's what we're going to do, hopefully, tonight. We're going to do what the stereotype is, the logger stereotype is. Then we're going to do what we actually do, which we just all covered a little bit. Then we're going to do how we're saving the forest one log at a time, the future of forestry, a question and answer, and then randomly throughout the show, sawdust confessions. Each one of us is going to tell us something that happened in the woods that shouldn't have happened, or something that not everybody should hear about, or you got the chainsaw, you got 6 chainsaws stuck in a log or something, some kind of story. And then we're going to play myth or fact for the viewers right there. So myth or fact, we're just going to ask you a question. Wait a minute, I think that's the first thing we're going to do. Myth or fact, yep, we're just going to do it right here. Ask you a question, and you just type in fact, whether this is, or you just type myth or fact in the chat right now. Here's the question. 1/3 of the United States is forest. Myth or fact? Whatever you think, type it into the chat right now. If you think that's a myth, or if you think that's a fact. I can leave myth up there if you want to know how to spell it. Nobody knows how to spell it. All right. So here's the stereotype, right? A lot of us meet the stereotype. We got the beard going on, but there's the stereotype right there. Paul Bunyan, right? The logger.
Oh, I thought that was Brawny Man.
No, it could be Brawny Man,
Yeah.
but I think that's the stereotype that we got, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
here's what the real logger is, right there. I mean, a lot has changed since Paul Bunyan was in the woods with his axe, I think. But I think that's the stereotype that we're still, categorized as. Don't you know what I mean? It might be chainsaw now,
Right.
but the terrible, awful logger walking into the woods and cutting down all the trees with his chainsaw and his flannel shirt that he's been wearing 24/7. Somebody's got. I'm wearing flannel.
I love
Nobody else is
flannel, to
wearing
be
flannel.
honest with you.
When it's cold, flannel's awesome.
They wrestle
Yeah.
bears for fun. That's what loggers do, right?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Every logger has a huge beard. There you
Well,
go.
well, yeah. Well,
Yeah. There you go. They use chainsaws for everything, right? Birthday
Yeah.
cake, get out the chainsaw,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Ribbon cutting, get out the chainsaw.
yeah.
They hate nature, especially hate nature, right? Some of us are undereducated, but most of us are uncivilized, actually, too. They speak in grunts and tree puns. They eat meat, preferably cooked over a burning log,
That's the only way to do it.
right? They have superhuman strength, right?
Sometimes.
I know that's pretty much a fact right there. They live in cabins that they built this morning.
Yeah.
So the other one is they just clear cut everything, right?
Wrong.
And I think that is totally wrong anymore.
That's a
But
big
that's what
buzzard.
everybody-
Wrong.
Yeah, but that's what everybody thinks, you know. That
I know. Well, yeah, that's a stereotype. Yep.
yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a lot of clear cutting, that happens, but along with that clear cutting, it's a replanting,
Right.
and it's still the best way to get those logs out of there is to clear cut it and then replant it. It is definitely a business, so some of that has got to be done.
So, John, on your myth or fact, look like everybody answered fact so far.
Fact, it is a fact. I
Correct.
didn't trick anybody, huh?
No, wait a minute.
It
You
is
say
a
it's a fact. 1/3 of
The United States
is forest.
is forest.
That's a myth because I know there's more forest in the United States than that.
Well, at least 1/3 of the United
At
States is
least
covered in forest.
1/3.
That makes
Yep.
a big difference
At
there.
least 1/3. I should have said at least.
Dale and I were just talking about that yesterday.
So there's and then there you go. There's one. People don't think the forest grows back. There's another one on here too where it says like this one that they don't care about the environment, and they're all talking about all that carbon capture and all that, whereas when you log that when you log those logs out and that forest is gone, the smaller trees are doing better and growing faster and capturing more carbon than the old trees. And the old trees, I mean, just like, Bearded Lumber, was saying earlier, he's taking down that old tree. It's still carbon because it's in somebody's house.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or it's turned into a mantle in somebody's house. And we're growing new carbon right there in the forest. So that's just one of the myths that the loggers are taking all the carbon out of the forest by harvesting those logs. When actually, if you're taking those trees, turning them into houses at a quicker basis, those pine trees, you're capturing more carbon than leaving the forest grow.
John, just to interrupt you for a minute, Dan
Please
came
do.
in. Hello, Dan.
Nope.
Welcome to the show. Mark, MEB, welcome to the show. Both you guys.
Mended
And,
sticks.
Dan Sawfish,
Yeah.
Yes.
you got
And it looks like Mark's
He's on
wearing
the West
flannel in Wisconsin again.
Yeah, people
John.
forget trees have a limited lifespan, and when they reach the end of their lifespan, if we don't capture that wood and use it, all that
Correct.
growth is wasted. It just falls to the forest floor, becomes
Correct.
litter for the next forest fire. I don't know about you guys, but I don't go out on anybody's land and cut trees. Trees are brought
No.
to me. I buy them. They come from graders, loggers, lot
Customers
clearers.
themselves.
Probably we probably cut 50% of what we do is actually customers' logs they brought to us. And I got my whole property's covered up with trees. I don't cut a single tree that don't have a good reason to cut. It's either dead, died, decaying, it's in the wrong place, and it's become dangerous, or we're adding something and now it's in the way.
Right.
So just to go back to that real quick, here's one that I didn't know, but here's one that I didn't know that everybody thinks it's all logging's done by huge corporations. And I probably would have agreed with that most of the logging, is done by corporations, but it's not. It's all done by small scale family owned operations. And I
Right.
did not realize that. I honestly thought it was, 2 or 3 multi-billion-dollar corporations owned everything in the West, and that would equal out all the small owned woods, but it's
I
not.
think the biggest landowner for forestable land now is the federal government.
Yep.
And they don't cut a single tree. They lease that out to the loggers to come in and log and pay for that privilege.
I stand corrected, John. 36% of the United States is forest. I thought it was more. I thought it was more than that, but I didn't take account for the deserts and
all that Midwest farmland,
the prairies, and all that stuff.
Oceans, just little things like that.
I'd like to get back.
It is more than 1/3. 1/3 is 33%.
Right, what I'm saying is I thought it was a lot more than that. There was one question up, not question. There was one statement up here about red oak. Ryan.
Yep.
Ryan, you were offered $350 for red oak. How many board feet were you offered that for? Just out of curiosity.
Go to the mill. Yeah, semi-load.
I see Joseph.
$350 for red oak.
Right, but I want to know how many board feet was in that load, or approximately. I see Joseph has joined us. Hello, Joseph. How you doing?
Yeah, he said 34%.
Yeah, it's between 34 and 36%.
I think it's 35%.
That would be between 34 and 36. You got it, Tim. That's it.
Thank you, guys. Just throw me some money. I'll just take a little money. That's fine.
Back.
So Ryan, when you get a chance, just type in there somewhere is how many board feet you thought that was that they offered you $350 for. I'm just curious because we did a video on firewood here just recently, and some surprising facts on firewood.
Correct.
Yeah, we don't need a whole lot of it down here. You have cold days through the winter.
Oh, hush.
So, Joseph wants to know, you're 3 hours away.
What?
And you
So
still got
Joseph
snow on the
wants
ground, Dave? Did it finally all melt?
What's that now?
You got any snow on the ground up there in the Great North?
No,
We're
it's
clear
all
now.
gone. We got black flies now, which is worse.
We don't have any snow.
What's so funny, John? Those little bastards
black
bite.
flies.
They hurt.
I know it. I hated going up there this time of year.
Oh my God, they'll carry you off.
They're nasty.
We
would gladly send a box to anybody who wants some.
You know what, John? I heard Campo Fanique keeps them off of you, though.
Hey, it might. I think it does.
If I could only find a Campo tree.
I'm telling you. Well, they make it. They put it in a bottle. You can just go buy it.
I have a few logs. Really? I need to mill up.
Send me some oil, will you, Neil?
Oh, man. That stuff's been on the ground for probably, I'm going to say, at least 4 years, and it has not rotted yet.
Have you ever sawed any camphor wood, Neil?
Oh, yeah.
I've never sawed any, but one of my good artistic customers went to Florida and brought back a bunch of log rounds, and I kiln dried them for him. And that stuff's pungent. You couldn't stand to be in there with it.
When you have that stuff on the mill, it's best the wind's not blowing at you. It almost gets overwhelming. The smell. It smells just like Vicks Vapor Rub. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing the strength of that. And I've cut some slabs. I don't know. They were probably 18 to 20 inches. And then right now I have some smaller logs around, but very, very hardy to weather. I got a slab that's busted. I threw it on the ground. It's been there for several months, and it still looks exactly like the day I threw it on the ground.
Huh.
I don't know.
Reminds you of your local cypress?
It's a little different wood than that. It's like a real light color.
Weather characteristics.
Oh yeah. It does really well in the weather for sure.
Rick, Steve said he'd send you a box of ticks for a box of black flies.
Well, unfortunately, we've got ticks this year too. I can't believe that after the winter we had.
Well, what can you raise them? Come on, this is getting interesting.
I'm just trying to get back to Ryan's statement here. Right now,
Similar.
the mills around here are paying $350 1,000. So for 1,000 board feet for red oak, you can get $350 for 1,000 board feet.
Well, he said for a semi load.
I don't know how many board feet is on a semi load.
That's a lot. That's a lot of flooring right there, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
What, did he say where he was at? Did Ryan say where he was at?
No. Where are you from, Ryan?
The local mills here are still paying decent money from what I hear from the loggers and the tree guys I deal with. Their problem is they're on a job and they call them up. Hey, I got 2 loads of white oak. Well, we're not cutting white oak this week. We don't need it. They're only buying it right when they need it. They're not buying any surplus inventory.
Because they don't want to take a chance on bugs getting into it when it sits.
Yep.
So, Eric, you guys in Western North Carolina or Eastern or Central?
Western North Carolina, we're
Right at the base of the mountains.
we're not
over
far
there,
from South Carolina border.
over there by Asheville.
Yes, about 45 minutes south of Asheville.
Okay.
You're near Greenville, South Carolina?
We're about 30 minutes from Greenville.
Greenville, Spartanburg.
Yes.
We lived in Charleston for 30 years.
Okay. We've been to Charleston many times.
I don't know what Greenville looks like now, but I think it was one of the nicest cities I ever drove through when I did drive through.
It looks like Atlanta 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was just clean, very clean.
Yeah.
I see that, Ryan.
It still is.
Ryan says he's from Michigan, Rick.
I see that.
Yep. Yeah, it's the red oak market out here. You know, I'm just south of there, Ryan. So the red oak market out here is nothing. You probably ought to take your 350.
I wish I had me an 18-wheeler load of it. I need to cut some floors for my house.
Well, there you go.
You got 350, Neil?
Yeah, 350.
Come on down.
Upstairs, I think I'm gonna do a red oak, white oak mix upstairs in the kids' rooms and see how that's gonna turn out.
I think you should get some more of that.
Last week wants to do that red oak, white oak mix. I'm like, if you'll bring it, we'll saw it, and make it happen. If you're happy, we're overjoyed.
I've seen some pictures online, and it gives a lot of character to the floor. Adds a lot of color with that red oak.
For the kids, saw it out of 2s and 3s where you got knot holes and all those voids. Put some epoxy with some glow in the dark powder in it. That would just trip them out at night.
Yeah, there you go.
I think you should take all that magnolia you're going to have spalted and put that down. That would be pretty.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I don't think I'm gonna have enough to do that though.
You could always do a gum floor.
Yeah, I could do that. There's plenty gum around here. There's plenty of that.
It's plenty hard enough for hardwood floor.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know one thing, Neil, if you cut up that camphor and put that in there, you'd never have sinuses will be stopped up again.
No, you would never have that trouble, would you?
Nope.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, why not? Why not some, spalted wood and some white oak and some? Why not do all of them?
That's
I'm
right.
just asking. Why not do one of each?
Yeah,
in a row.
Put them all in there.
I don't know. Can you do that?
That'd be a psychedelic floor. All you need then is a disco ball. That'd be cool.
Right. Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't, as long as you let everything acclimate to inside before you put it down, so one don't move more than the next. When it does, you can pull all the way down.
Yep.
All right, so it looks like Ryan was trying to sell his logs to the Amish, and they're overrun with storm damaged logs. I can see that happening.
Gotcha. Yep.
So Ryan, are you a logger? You don't have a mill? Just out of curiosity, just trying to figure out some stuff here with you. So let me ask a quick question. Each one of you guys, what's a cord of hardwood sell for in your area seasoned?
Firewood.
Step up, John. Go ahead.
All right. I don't know what it sells for. I don't know what other people sell it for because I really don't give a crap. But I won't sell a cord of hardwood for under $400. It's $400 a cord, and if that's too high of a price for you, then good, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a lot of work to split a cord of firewood. I don't have the processor.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm not doing it with the maul. You know, I got a regular splitter that comes down one at a time. And I chainsaw it. It's a lot of work, and $400 is what it's worth to me. And
I'm just curious. I'm just curious what hardwood firewood sells for in your areas. Greg, you don't know?
I'm $350 for softwood. So I do pinyon pine. If I do a cord of pinyon pine, I'm at almost $600.
600.
Yep.
Wow.
Neil,
we have cold days.
We don't need firewood.
You get 1 or 2 cold days in a row, somebody builds a yard fire and goes sit beside it for a little while.
all right. Look, we're not ignorant. We lived in South Carolina for 30 years. It got cold in the winter, and people sold firewood.
Yeah, not down here. We all the way. I mean, you get cool days, like I say.
He's in Louisiana.
I'm all the way on the coast of Mississippi. All the
No,
way.
he's in Mississippi. Yeah, he's almost like Florida border.
Yeah.
If it's cold down there for y'all,
Louisiana, Mississippi, is there a difference?
Just a little,
Yeah.
just a little lingo, a little way you talk.
Yeah, no Cajuns in Mississippi, right?
Okay.
Well, all my family's from over there. Everybody moved over here. I'm like the 3rd generation in Mississippi. So to be honest with you,
Well,
So
John, somebody's saying your mic's not doing very good.
I can hear you fine on this end.
Eric, how about you?
Mike.
Firewood.
We don't fool with firewood here. Our local community has so many elderly transplants from New York, New Hampshire, Maine, and these people are not going to burn firewood. The few people I know that sell firewood take a little Toyota pickup truck and might get $120 for a load of hardwood split and stacked. And I wouldn't crank my chainsaw for that.
No. Well, the reason I was asking is because we worked out the numbers. Like I said, we have a video coming out on it because a lot of our crafters wood is actually cut from firewood logs because people want character.
Right.
And if you're selling firewood for $600 a cord, that's only 38 cents a board foot for your wood, for your time and your effort and all that work. It's only 38 cents a board foot if you get $600 a cord.
Wow.
Is that unreal or what? And you see these people buying these firewood processors that cost $100,000, and it's $600 a cord, which I think is probably a high price.
I got a cousin that bought one, and he said he wished he had 2 of them, not because he ever uses it one day a year, but he rents that thing out. He said that's a good money maker. He said I'll have families of 8 or 10 families come in and rent that thing for a week, and they'll split mountains of firewood with it.
Well, he's found a niche to make money without working.
He's one of them guys with a golden horseshoe, brother. He finds a niche everywhere.
Greg, are you going to start leasing yours out?
Not yet.
It's too shiny right now, ain't it?
Yeah, it's too shiny right now. I got to wear some paint off first.
Had you figured it out?
Yeah, I figured it out.
Did you get it running?
Yeah, I got it running.
Yeah, because they're going to split more firewood and you want to stack.
I'm already at that point.
That ain't Craig's log splitter. That's his son's log splitter. He just don't know it yet.
Yeah. For my son turned 12, I gave him a chainsaw for Christmas. He thought it was great until I put him to work.
Yeah, I'm all for working young kids. I like to work them till it's not fun, and then work them further.
That's the way to do it.
Push, just poke, keep poking them.
They'll thank me later for it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, my youngest son's not afraid of work, and his work ethic has really gotten him ahead in this world.
You're not going to make
Yeah,
it
that's good.
anywhere in this world, educated or not, without a work ethic.
Correct.
Absolutely not. Yeah, so we did the numbers on firewood. I just couldn't believe people are working this hard for that small a cost.
Well,
Like I say, most of the guys I know that do a little bit of it, they're in the tree business, and this is stuff that they can't sell.
Right.
They just haul it home, and when they got free time, they'll chop up a few truckloads of firewood and they'll sell it. I call it nookie wood. You know,
We got a lot of
for the
campgrounds
Airbnbs
cabins
and
near
stuff,
us.
they'll sell it to them, make a little bit of money, but it's not a revenue stream I want any part of.
Right. So
Well,
you
what
Eric,
you're-
you saw. Go ahead, John.
what you're figuring also is, probably figuring. I don't know what you're figuring, but I'm guessing you're just taking the cubic feet in a cord, and turning it into board feet, and that's how you're doing your figures.
It's 1,536 board feet in a cord.
Right. So, but the problem is like Eric just said, I'm not cutting. That wood isn't. That's my cap cuts. You know what I mean? And that's wood that I can't get on the mill.
Right.
Is my firewood. So, that board foot, you can't get any board feet out of a cap cut. That first
Limbs,
flitch
cross
doesn't
knots,
have any
just
board
take your
feet
pick.
in it.
Well, this came about, John, because I was watching another YouTube channel, and this guy had a $120,000 firewood processor, which was very impressive. He had a bunch of 12, 14-inch logs on the deck, and this thing was filling a dump truck up every 10 minutes with wood. It was an impressive log. It was an impressive
Processor.
processor. But then I got to sit and I sat down and got to thinking, okay, I wonder how much board foot is in a cord, and then what his cord sells for. So even if this guy's getting his logs for free and he's selling this firewood at $600 a cord, he's only making 38 cents a board foot. Would you cut pine? Would you cut pine for 38 cents a board foot?
No.
Nope.
Would you sell pine for 38 cents a board foot?
Nope.
And this is hardwood. That's just my point. It was just
Right.
It was mind numbing to me because I was like, wow, I can't believe that our offcuts all get sawn into firewood too, and we sell it, but that's just a process you have to go through to get rid of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But we're not in the business of cutting firewood. I just couldn't believe. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So it's just machinery has made it so easy and convenient. You know what I mean? That it doesn't matter. To him how much he's. That it's 38 cents a board foot.
He's making his money off quantity.
Right. He's
Yeah.
just making money because
You're right.
he pulls the lever down and the machine cuts it and splits it.
And milling wood with a sawmill, you making precise cuts, precision. It's a much slower. Everything's got to be precise. Where that firewood is just, especially on a machine like that, you blowing and going, and it just, as long as it's busted, it don't matter size or nothing like that.
So,
as long as it's in a roundabout area.
It's
Snack,
still
crackle, and pop.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of work.
Here's one of those facts that I learned while I was doing this research in this show that I didn't believe, just a random one that I don't even think I put in the show, but half of all the wood in the world, half of it is used for what? Half the wood in the world
Probably
is used for
plywood.
what?
Paper.
Paper.
Good product.
Nope.
Really?
Half the wood in the world is still used for heat. To heat your
What?
house.
Firewood. Really?
Heating your house.
Wow.
Half the wood in the world. Is that amazing? I
That
couldn't
is
believe that
amazing.
one. There's a couple of them that I
Not
learned. That I couldn't.
Mississippi.
No, not in Mississippi. No, not in
It's
Mississippi.
house building down here.
9, Mississippi.
So Neil, if Santa brings you a lump of coal, it lasts you all winter.
Hey, you bring me a lump of coal with cooking steaks.
There you go. In the chat, type myth or fact. Myth or fact. Trees grow better in overcrowded, unthinned forest. Myth or fact. All right. I don't know what's next. We don't have to talk. Uh-oh. Sawdust confessions.
Sawdust confessions. I like that.
There you go. Just tell me what you done. Who's going first?
I could tell you on that last question you asked, if a forest is too dense, the younger trees grow too fast, and they're very thin and tall. We have some trees in thick parts of our forest that are only 6 inches in diameter and 45, 50 feet tall. And if they were to stand by themselves, they don't stand very long.
Nope.
Nope.
They don't have the strength to.
Nope.
Well, we got 3 myths
What?
out of that
I
one,
don't
John.
burn a push in a pile and burn in a crying shame. What? I don't burn. I push. Oh, okay.
In a pile.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Rick,
I took the
you got
time
any
or two.
sawdust confessions? You're up.
I'll go first.
You're up.
Let's see, this happened within the last 4 years. We knocked down a white pine, and I was bucking up the logs. The pine was flat on the ground. I mean, just as flat on the ground as can be. But now you got to understand that we are very hilly here. We start at the house and we go up 700 feet by the time you get to the back of our property. But anyway, this log was flat on the ground. There was snow on the ground, and I bucked the first log off of this probably 50, 60 foot tree, Tim?
Yep.
And the log that I cut off, before I got it completely off, the rest of the tree jumped up off the ground and pinned me. And I have no idea to this day how it did that. If I had been by myself, I would have been in big trouble because it had me pinned and pinched good. If it wasn't for the snow, I would have broke my legs.
Yep.
Fortunately, Tim was there, and I'm screaming at him, grab the chainsaw, cut another log, hurry up.
And once you know it, I had the old still, it wouldn't crank. No, that's a myth. It cranked right up.
So Tim's confession is going to be what he did to get that log to jump up.
No, I have one of my own. And John, you can probably relate to this one. I also was cutting a huge white pine, and we were up on top of the hill, and the tree was like this. We were trying to drop it in a certain spot, but gravity always seems to pull downhill. And I was sawing with a brand new steel chainsaw, 271, MS 271. And I did the wedge like I was supposed to. I started in the back cut. As I came around on the back cut, guess what? With the wedge on it, the tree started coming backwards, and then it rolled just like this, fell off the stump, and crushed my saw.
Now the best
that was a expensive lesson to learn.
The best part about that story, though, and we got it on video, because I told Tim, I said, run, don't look back, just run, because the tree started chasing him through the woods.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice. Anybody else?
I'll
okay.
follow Tim.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did the same thing on my log pile. I watched the saw, I had it out working, and thought I better hop out and move that saw. Well, guess what I didn't do? Hop out and move that saw.
Oh, bad news.
That was $1,400.
Was it steel?
Yeah.
Ouch.
My brand new 461.
Well,
Wow.
well,
Yeah.
I ended up getting a Husky, but then I went and redid my steel. I got a bunch of used parts and resalvaged her, and I got her going again, but still not the same.
Okay, we don't do very little logging anymore. Only trees I cut is ones on my property that's got to come down. But I will tell you a story about being younger, logging, and how to cut trees and ended up naked at the same time.
That's how I got some moonshine in there.
I was probably 12, 13-year-old out in the woods with Dad with his old 35 Ferguson and a log chain. And I'm driving the gas in the log. He backs up there, drives me in. As soon as he dumps clutch, the old tractor digs a 1.5 foot deep hole and throws a whole yellow jacket nest up in my face.
Oh.
He's screaming. I knocked the gas off, and he's off and gone with the tractor. And I run a half mile to the house. The time I got to the house, tell Mama the back of my head hurt. I was butt naked.
Oh.
TMI.
Don't get naked in the woods logging.
Yeah, Rick had a bout with some yellow jackets.
They won.
I won in the end, though, didn't I?
Yep. Yeah, and you had a short with 3 million views to prove it.
Yep.
John, how about you?
I never make any mistakes in the woods.
Wait a minute. What was that last video? What?
Oh,
What?
yeah, the one that kind of fell off the back of the mill.
Oops,
That's got to happen to a lot of people.
No, not even that. Chainsaw.
Which one?
What you got there, Mr. Neal?
Oh boy.
What you got there, Mr. Neal? I thought you went and got fixed. I thought you said you went and got fixed.
I did.
A little
But
late.
it was sooner than 3 months.
Oops.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Good deal, dude.
Yeah. He's actually, if they all acted like this, you'd want more of him. He don't cry. He's just laid back.
Yeah, not like that, huh?
Well, he's still kind of young.
John, I think we watched a video recently where you dropped a tree that the top came out of, and it went the right way, but it could have
That's
wrong
what I was
way.
talking about.
Oh yeah, that video. Yeah,
That could have
was,
gone south. That could have gone south fast.
Yeah. So when I was cutting that down, I even said right in the video, that the wedge was solid. The tree was. I thought the tree was just going to be solid and just, dead up top, and then it fell down and then broke in half, caught on the limb of that other white oak, it broke in half, and just went to the side and no big deal, and I didn't think anything of it. I just went over and cut it up and it wasn't any big deal. And then I watched that video and I realized that if 4 feet of that tree would have stayed together, and hit it different, that whole thing would have came right back on me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That whole top of the tree could have very easily come right back on me, and I did not even realize
you were in shock
until I was
just
watching
standing
the
there
video.
watching it. Yeah. It would have nailed you. Oh man.
Yeah.
I cringed when I saw it. I cringed.
I cut a big pine down at my pa-in-law's one day. It was probably 24, 26 inches at the base. It was pretty big tree.
What is a pond law?
Pine tree.
No, pond. What is a pond law?
Pine.
Pond law. What
Is that yellow or red pine?
Paw-in-law. But anyhow,
it grows on the pond.
but we that tree come down and everything looked great. Watched the tree come through some other small trees. When it hit the ground, a limb broke from the top of that tree and it caught the corner of my eye, and I picked up my leg just in time. It was probably as big as your wrist and 3 feet long, and flew from the top of that tree after it hit the ground and come back and hit me in the leg. That right there was, luckily I had my foot off the ground and it wasn't straight directly onto my knee, because it very easily could have broke my leg.
Easily.
Yeah.
Andy, how about you guys?
We our sawdust confession would have to be we finally broke down and bought 2 Husky 540 XPs for limbing up. Couldn't take the little steels anymore. We broke down and bought Huskies. Can you believe that, Tim?
Why would you do that? You've only got 92 steels.
Yeah. So
And one McCulloch. I'm sorry.
yeah, the old McCulloch.
Yeah.
1010. So when we first got the skidding winch, we had a tree that had come down and was embedded in the ground, it was still standing up, and we hooked on it. And instead of getting the bottom to pull out, we pulled the top over towards us. So that was a screw up. We learned to pay attention to where we were hooking onto the trees when we were pulling them with a skidding winch.
So that was almost a boo-boo, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty hairy stuff with winches involved.
Mm-hmm.
Cables popping.
Man, that's a heck of a thing to come into a live stream and hear Eric running through the woods naked, ain't it? That's not where you want to.
Naked.
Not where you want to come into a live
It was
stream.
a lot less of me then than they are now.
Special guest running through the woods naked. That's great.
Yeah, I learned early on, my early teenage years, I worked for a local guy that did tree work, fencing, anything to do with a chainsaw or a fence. And over here in some of our more wealthy neighborhoods up on the mountains, they'd hire him and then me and others go down in the woods, and we'd fall trees to clear their view. I had never seen a tree back up a hill until I started doing that, and I learned a good lesson. Just because that tree's going downhill, it can walk right back up that hill depending on how the canopy of that tree hits the ground.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't think there's a more dangerous situation than cleaning up storm damaged trees, especially when you got a bunch of them laying on top of each other. Yes, some of them got tension on them, and they just spring right out of there like they're like a trap.
Yep, I agree with that.
We don't want to talk about rolling logs off the mill. That don't happen.
That's what I said too.
That's a myth.
Put it on video.
No, John, I saw yours on video, John. You can't get away from that.
You saw what I posted on video. You didn't.
Yeah, and I didn't.
But I can only imagine, John.
Oh my gosh. That was the first thing I did. I started cursing and ran over and shut off all the cameras.
I gotta admit, I didn't even watch the whole video.
That's the best YouTube footage.
Yeah, and then I thought, no, I'm gonna go ahead and show, you know what I mean, me picking this up and explain what happened, and it happens, man. What can you do?
Yep.
You could have made a ton of shorts out of that, John.
But there was a couple F-bombs in there. I couldn't.
Exactly. That's what they had the bleep button for. Yeah, probably got you 2 million views.
I was trying. Oh yeah, there you go. Joseph sawing with Sandy.
Yeah, he got whacked with that winter storm.
He got wrecked.
He lost a lot of the red pine.
Yeah, he got wrecked.
That was a nice storm, right? That was?
Yeah, that was nice. Yep.
Right after he bought that big Clark mill, that new mill he bought. He's lucky those trees didn't come down.
The thing of it is that those trees that Sandy has are planted red pine. You should have been thinned years ago. That's another classic example. Those trees are tall and thin.
Yeah.
All
that stuff's chicken material, isn't it?
All of them racing for the sun. Those trees are tall, but they're really thin.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys occasionally find any old timber? And I asked that because we had the hurricane come through here last September, and we got a tremendous amount of wood brought in to saw that we'd have never sawed in our lifetime because these trees wouldn't have been cut. And I've got a hickory log laying right out here. We'll make a video on it when we saw it. It come off the side of a mountain up here. Mountain's been logged. It's been logged in the past, but they must have missed this one. It's in the 36, 38 inch range hickory. It's probably excess of 100 feet tall. I got my tape measure out there, and I could visibly count at least 32 grains to the inch, and I think it's more.
Wow.
This tree was 360 plus years old.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now we can relate to a story. Somebody brought us a maple log that was dead, and it kind of looked rotted. We wanted to know if we could cut it up for him. I'm like, yeah, we can cut it up. So it was pretty solid. I started counting the rings on it. When I got up over 150, I gave up because my eyes were going across. You know how it is counting rings.
Yeah.
We were past 150, and we still probably had 12 inches of log to go.
Yep.
While we were sawing it, when we got towards the center, we cut a musket ball in half with the sawmill.
I was going to say, was that the one with the musket ball?
Yeah, had a musket ball in it, and the customer was thrilled. He wanted the musket ball, and he wanted the, he's like,
I
wow.
promised this customer we'd cut him a 4 or 5 inch cookie off the end of it and kiln dry it. I told him, I said, I know it's going to crack and split apart. I said, but you can put it back together, sand that thing down, and you can put little brass tacks across that, and you can map out American history, world history, in a log that old.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I get older trees. I don't get them super big, but cypress, you get that cypress is growing in the swamp. It grows so stinking slow. I mean, you get 20 years an inch and stuff like that on kind of regular, but I don't ever get any real big one. The biggest one I have right now on the ground is 40 inches across the base, which my mill can't cut it. And first off, my tractor can't even pick it up to put it on the mill. It's only 16 feet long, but I got a guy down the road, a good friend of mine, some of y'all, Jack Hudson. He's got one of them Lucas slabbing mills, and we're gonna have to set that up on it to cut it.
Yeah, that customer that came out today said he had that huge ash rick that was dead. He had to bring it down. He said he couldn't even move it with his tractor. He couldn't even pull it with his tractor. That's how big it was.
A log, 8-foot log, he couldn't move it with the tractor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, also
I thought you said it was his ass.
That's what he just said.
Yeah, he couldn't pull it with his ass. ASH.
I thought he said he had that big ass. He couldn't move that big ass. That's what I know. I know that's what you said.
No, I did. Okay, Campo, come on.
What kind of log was it?
Ash.
Oh, ash, not ass. Okay.
And at least it wasn't stinky swamp ass.
All right.
Well,
I got it.
I was up at Hudson this past week, and we were talking about there
we go again.
They got two mills. They got a 52 inch and a 64 inch slabber. How in the heck do you handle logs that size to put on a mill?
Cockle.
I know who's got one. He's got
a Lowell
450 with that 52 inch cut. They just set that log on there and slab it. If they get halfway through, they'll take a big piece of equipment, set it off, roll it over, set it back on there. Just
well, see
that's all they do. They don't do any dimensional stuff. It's just slabbing.
That Lucas slabbing mill, it's made to set up in the bush. I mean, wherever you go, the logs on the ground, you just set it up, it's aluminum frame, set it up around it, and then cut it where you don't ever touch the log.
Somebody still got to manhandle that piece of slab out there.
Oh yeah, you need a tractor to pick the slabs. That big pecan I got, that's how we did it. We cut it with Thomas's slabbing mill several years ago.
Yeah,
when it takes a tractor to move the slab, it might be a little too big.
That's why we call them cants. I can't move it. It's got tractor lid up.
Exactly. That's where that came from. Can't. Can't move it.
Can't move it.
I love that.
We cut stuff sometimes. I call them a won't. I won't move it.
We constantly get requests. I like to have a 4-inch thick slab, 30 inches wide by 12 feet long.
Oh,
can you cut that for me? Sure, I can cut it for you, but who's going to pick it up and put it on your truck? and you're not going to pick it up with your little Honda Odyssey. So I don't have any idea I mean, you realize they don't. I don't think people realize how much wood weighs.
No.
I had a guy make a big order the other day. I forget how many 8x8 posts it was. It was like they were 14 feet long, and he shows up with a 14-foot exact trailer.
Landscaping trailer.
Yeah, he said, we're going to get all this on here. I said, do you realize you have like 15, 14-foot 8x8s? You have like 30 4x8s, 16 or 14 feet long, building a timber frame pergola or whatever at his house. He said, I should better haul all that. I said, you tell me when to stop loading. And then he had to come back for a couple more trips.
Yeah.
Stop. The fenders are touching the tires. I said, all right, stop.
Yeah. We recently sought out an order for a guy, and he came to pick it up in a what did he have? An F-350 Ford, Tim?
F-350 flatbed, yeah.
Yeah, flatbed. We started stacking the lumber on it, and we didn't get halfway through the order. He's like, "Oh, we gotta stop. We can't do it anymore."
It's rubbing on my wheels.
That pile of lumber sitting out there and just out in the yard or whatever, it looks big. But when you start putting it onto something, then you really start seeing how much lumber that is.
Well, it was green hemlock, which is heavy anyway. And he said, yeah, load me up. I got a good truck. Yeah, okay.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he was carrying it all the way to Massachusetts, so he had to make 2 trips.
Yep.
Plan better next time.
Yeah, that's what I said.
We've had a customer come pick up a full trailer load and show up with 2 of the tiny little like 1-inch straps to try and haul it all home with.
How many of you had somebody show up to pick up a trailer load of wood with flat tires on the trailer?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
We had that.
There's our hose, our reel right here, and there's our truck over on the bench for a reason for those customers to show up with
The
flat
tires were dry rotted. They would not even hold air. The
Oh,
trailer was just light and then didn't look flat. When you put wood, they was busted and cracked. I said, well, good luck, pal. I mean,
Start any fires on his way home?
yeah, I don't know. He didn't call me.
Hey, Neil, I got one better for you. When we started cutting up slabs, had an 8-foot cherry log. Lady wanted me to slab it out for her. So I slabbed it out for her, and she goes, okay, here's money. Gives me money. I said, well, how are you going to get it home? She goes, I'm going to put it in my Honda Accord. I said, what? 4-door Honda Accord. They rolled down the back windows and stuck the wood out. It looked like an airplane going down the road. A whole log in a Honda Accord in the windows.
Oh, I loaded up. A guy come today. He had a regular pickup truck. He had 4. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of wood, but they were 17 feet long. He put them in the back of his full-size truck, strapped them down, and took off. Said, have fun. I'll warranty it out the driveway, and that's about as far as I'm getting.
I think I had one time. I don't remember all the details, but I took my phone out, took a video of me and him. I told him when he drives out, he's on his own. Click.
Yeah. Make it
was
to
that
the
bad.
driveway.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, John, you see over there in the comments, I wrote absolutely. I misspelled it. So did you.
Yeah.
Damn, John, you're as bad as Rick.
I'm just copying Rick. I'm just
Mhm.
copying Rick.
I
I'm not going
see.
to tell you how to do that.
If any of you guys out there that are in the comment section here got a question for Eric or Matthew, shoot. We're open for discussion.
Jay.
Where are we at? We're at what do we actually do? We've done the myth, right?
Yep.
We're done with the myths. Here's what we actually do. Oh, you already saw that one, right? There's what we actually do.
Yeah, you might do that. We don't.
Yeah.
There's what loggers actually do nowadays. So I had these on there. I had these on there for
Does anybody know
this is
what
what
those
you
cost nowadays?
anyone know what that is?
Mhm.
It's a
$1 million.
farmer.
Nuh-uh.
That's a
That's
hay rake.
farmer. And there's a
Grease
and there's a
monkey.
grease monkey, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays there's a grease monkey with his computer. You know,
What's the
And
farmer
there's a farm-
right?
and there's a farmer.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
I mean,
right.
but people still thinking that that's a logger.
Yeah,
You know, it's I think it's anyway. I think it's a stereotype that the loggers are getting having a hard time, giving a bad name about it.
I don't know any guys that run around with a pickup truck with a chainsaw that can afford a $500,000 tree feller.
No, I don't either.
No,
These are professionals.
To be fair about it though, years ago, loggers used to go into set of woods and strip it clean, leave a mess, and not only would they strip it clean, they'd cross boundary lines and steal trees, and they were notorious for that.
Oh yeah.
oh, absolutely.
So over the years ago, loggers did get a bad reputation because I don't know if they were all like that, but a lot of them were.
But the same goes with the mechanic.
Yep,
The
absolutely.
mechanic, you'd pull in the garage and he'd charge you $49.95 to fill up your turn signal with blinker fluid. But you know what I'm saying? He'd tell you your
absolutely.
tires were bad and your alternator was bad, and when none of that was really bad. So that's a stereotype that they've had to get out of too.
Just recently, I had the wife's tires rotated at a facility, and their technician came out and got me. Now I've been a diesel technician for 50 years, and their technician come out and brought me in there, and he goes, "I'd like to show you your back rotors are delaminating." And I said, I'm like, "Can you explain to me what delaminating is? Because I just don't understand what you're talking about." And he started him-hawing around. I'm like, "Yeah, exactly what I thought." I was turning wrenches while you were swinging on your mom's nipples.
Yeah, but you can't have them
Easy.
delaminating. You're gonna have to get some more of them
Yeah.
for sure. All right, there you go. Myth or fact? Type it into questions. Type it into comments. This is
Fact.
the question. Chainsaw fumes count as cologne.
Only for
Fact or
loggers.
myth?
Fact.
Fact or myth?
Every time I come home, the wife said, "You smell like pine trees."
Yep.
Yeah. Fact.
Did you dump
Fact.
your pockets outside and get all the sawdust out?
That's,
Yeah.
that's wood glitter, man. You're supposed to wear that stuff.
Oh man, what are we doing here? The importance of active.
Looks like the facts have it,
Forest
John.
management?
Fact.
The facts have it. It is fact. Yep.
Man, glitter. Fact. Love it.
The
I love
importance
you
of forest
guys.
management
You guys are
reduces
coming up with some
wildfire.
good stuff.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wish that Eric and Michael were on here. They're both doing that right there. Active forest management to reduce the wildfire risk in California and Oregon, or Washington and Oregon.
Well, in our small part of the world here, we had the worst fire season I've ever seen. I was in the fire department probably 10 years ago for a decade or so. And all of that stemmed from
This year?
This past year. It all stemmed from Hurricane Helene last year, knocking down all this damaged wood in the forest. And then we go into fire season, and it took a month, and it basically took a week's worth of rain to finally put it out. The fire departments couldn't do nothing with it. It was all mountainous terrain. And that stems from all the down trees that we don't normally have in this area, but we had because of the hurricane.
Right.
Yeah. Forest management, is a very important tool, especially you live out west where you got high density and you have mountainous terrain with forest. If you don't manage that wood, you're going to have a California fire every year, every week, every time you turn around.
Well, that and the dry heat. I mean, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
You have it every season.
Yeah, that.
I can't fathom Craig's dry temperatures they have out there in Utah and how much of a tinderbox that place can turn into just overnight.
Yeah, they had a fire up on where I got logs from this last summer, you could actually see the fire. The size of the fire was actually controlling the weather in the vicinity.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
y'all
with the
have
smoke,
fires out
right?
there that get up in the tops of trees and just go across forests. You know, tree
Yeah,
tops.
that's
A forest fire will create its own wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you notice,
Yeah.
they want to fight the fires in the evening when the winds, they need to let the guys fight the fires when they, in the hours when it's the best to get the most done. They make money with when the fires are burning.
Oh, you know they do. Best way to manage them fires is manage your timber first.
Yep.
They do a lot of control burning around here. That's for sure. They got a sandhill crane refuge down here on the coast, and they always burning in there. Always.
North Carolina wildlife, every state's different, but North Carolina Forestry Service, if you have timber tract, especially pine, they'll come out and do control burns on certain size acreage, and their whole idea is just to burn all the dead wood on the floor, all the pine needles, and to make that forest safe to be able to stand another 15, 20 years until it's harvest time.
Doing those control burns too. I know,
Yep.
like California's bad against it, doing them control burns. Those crazy wildfires. If you got sections burned, your stuff, it takes a lot of the fuel out of it.
Yeah.
right. There's, that whatever it was, the Palisade fires and the bad fires out in California. I mean, that's, even a lot of the forest management that you can do isn't going to stop an event like that with 100-mile-an-hour winds
right.
and zero humidity and no, rain for weeks and months and stuff like that. But, you can reduce, you can still reduce the intensity of that fire and where it's going. And, there's some things you can do.
A lot of their problem stemmed from the fact of the regulation in California didn't allow homeowners to take care of their own property to reduce that fuel load. It wasn't national park land. This was private land that homeowners just weren't allowed to reduce the fuel load on.
Right.
Right. But I'm just saying, that's I'm not saying it's definitely not an earthquake or a volcano or a hurricane or anything like that.
They're going to have fires every year. They'll have a fire next year because of the Santa Ana winds, but it won't be as bad in the Palisades because the fuel load is gone.
It's gone. Right.
That's the point. That's the point.
Your redwoods or your sequoias, am I wrong on fire actually helps germinate those seeds from those trees? Ain't it really very beneficial for those trees?
Some trees have to have a fire to germinate the seeds.
Yep.
We have a place called the pine bush, and the trees in the pine bush, which are just scraggly pine trees, there's not much to them, but if they don't have a fire, they can't germinate, they can't reproduce. I think the fire opens, or I don't know what it does, but I know they have to have a fire to make them reproduce.
Yeah, they just did that last 2 weeks.
Yeah, they'll burn off the pine bush every year.
Yep.
Years ago, when I was living in South Carolina, I worked for West Vaco Timber Corporation, and all their property, they used to take the bulldozers with the fire plows and put 3 fire lines in between the highway and their woods to stop people from flicking cigarette butts out the window and starting fires. Yeah. For proactive to keep fires from starting. That was a lot of fun.
Can I ask you guys a question? How many of you were tree huggers before you got into the sawmilling business? Or were you like most everybody else, you just didn't pay them much attention, they were on the side of the road or whatever, and now you drive by and like, ooh, I saw that.
Exactly. Cha-ching, every tree.
Down the road thinking, oh, look, man, that right there would make some nice wood.
We were doing that today, going fishing. Like, oh, man, look at that tree. Isn't that sexy?
I'm more of a tree hugger now than I've ever been.
When I ask the kids and stuff, let's go fishing on the river. No, Dad, I ain't going fishing with you. You're going to want to haul logs.
Now, see, there's a backstory to this, though, because I've been sawing for over 30 years. Tim just got into it 5 or 6 years ago, but we would be hunting, and I'm like, oh man, look at that cherry, or oh, look at that big maple. That's got some blah blah blah. And he's like, now he's doing the same thing I do. Look at that cherry.
Yeah, I'm drooling a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Eric, how close are you guys to Dan and Jay? Two guys, timber frame. Are you guys close to them?
He's up in Tennessee. Where's he? He was what, near Knoxville?
Okay.
If he's in Knoxville, we're about 3.5, 4 hours.
He's probably over there by Thomas, Craig.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm closer to Mr. Elliott. He's up in western or the eastern side of Tennessee.
I don't know who she is.
But we like our part of the country. I like
Just
talking
south
to you.
of
To hear different things around the country, different, things you have to deal with, different timber you get to deal with. We have similar species, but even a white oak here in western North Carolina is not exactly the same white oak Neil has in Mississippi.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of swamp chestnut oaks down this way. That's what you see a lot of, the chestnut oak.
Well, that's what's nice about like this farm right here. We're from all over the United States, and what makes it nice is we all can come together and we can all talk shop or wood or sawmills or whatever, but we always come to the same consensus no matter where we are in the United States.
Yep.
Now,
yep.
So
let me
And I
ask
want
you.
to thank each and every one of you for what you do, because it's a thing that you have to get in your blood. It's not just, going out and saying, "Oh, I want to cut a piece of wood." It's got to be in your blood.
Yeah, you gotta have a passion for it for sure.
Absolutely.
I didn't know I had a passion for it until I needed to build a house, so I bought a sawmill, and then there you go. That's how it started.
You get hooked,
Not
don't
just
you?
a sawmill.
Yeah.
I bought one in my 40s just for have something to do. My kids was grown. Matthew was the last one out of the house in the Army, so I need a hobby, and it's a hobby that got way out of hand, boys. Let me tell you.
I guarantee you.
Yeah. I graduated
It's
from
kind of the
school. He
same.
doesn't have a single piece of equipment, no tractors. 3 years later, coming home from the Army, he's got 3 tractors, a sawmill, skid steer. He's got a bunch of stuff. Like, where was all this stuff at when I was doing all this?
Didn't need it.
Well, funny thing, Matthew, I didn't even know what you sounded like till tonight.
Well, he's the one that likes to talk on camera a lot. I'm behind the camera trying to get him to shush.
I know. I got a bigger
It's
brother
going.
does the same thing. Yep, 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 yep.
So just like Joseph said, just like Eric said a minute ago, your white oak isn't the same as anybody else's. And Joseph just said the hackberry trees in Illinois aren't the same as they are down south.
Correct.
And when Jack Beckworth was on with Wood-Mizer and he was trying to explain blades to us,
Yep.
he says, "Man, I can't."
Your brother-in-law
I
like
can't
that,
honestly.
Matthew.
I can't honestly say that. This 10-degree blade, or this 7-degree blade, or this whatever blade is good for your pine. He
Right.
said because the pine in North Carolina is different than the pine in southern Indiana. It's different than the pine in Louisiana. It's different than the pine out west or in New York.
The fur. Yeah.
So it depends on a lot on where you're at, and
That's
what
why I
you're
don't
using.
argue with people on what they use for a blade lubricant, because what I need here for my species is definitely not the same thing Craig needs out west at 6% moisture.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You got to do what works in your area. Like, do you have any problem with white oak pitch in Mississippi, Neil? Not really.
You're muted, Neil. You're muted.
Well, here I run lubricant on my white oak because it will be pitchy just enough to gum up the blade.
Right. And see, I don't cut a whole lot of hardwood down here. So, you know what I mean? I'm 95% pine.
Yeah, we're probably 50-50 on what we cut, pine and hardwoods, whether they be an oak or maple, hickory, ash, something like that.
There's not a whole lot of hardwood harvesting down there. I mean, I'm in the pine belt. I'm pretty much pine everywhere you go is pine, besides the water oaks.
Y'all have the southern live oaks?
We got the live oaks, and them juggers is like cutting concrete.
Yeah.
They are. I mean,
I know what you're saying there.
Yeah, that stuff. My mom and dad's got some in their yard. I would imagine they have to be 8-9 feet across, them live oaks. Because they grow in clusters. You got several in one spot, and you can't. I mean, they're gigantic.
Yeah.
Tell sawfish to quit rubbing it in.
We have a pin oak species here, and it's probably the most useless oak in the world. I don't know what you do with it. It rots outside. You try to cut a board out of it, and it'll warp and twist and crack. I mean, I get people all the time. I got a bunch of pin oak. I said, well, you got a bunch of nothing.
Yeah. It's barely worth burning.
Yeah, firewood's probably the best use for it.
Pallet
Hey,
wood. They
Andy.
use it for pallet wood.
Yeah.
Pin oak is pallet wood.
Andy,
But
that customer we had out today says he loves white cedar.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
They
And,
make
there's
signs. They make
signs out of it.
Signs, you said?
Yeah.
Cool.
They have a
Interesting.
CNC machine that burns etches with a laser, and they said they love white cedar.
Gotcha.
oh yeah.
I was
didn't
doing
see
some
that for white
studying on
cedar.
it. I was doing some studying on a tree. I think I was talking to you, Craig, about juniper the other day.
Yeah.
And I got online trying to find out what the real name for it was, because
Eastern red cedar.
it's in the cedar family, of course, but it's an Atlantic white cedar is what they call it, and I mean what they call it, and they get big. They get big as a lot of cypress trees where I am, and it's just as hardy as a cypress. It's nice wood.
Yeah, that customer today we had, he was calling our Eastern red cedar aromatic cedar is what he
Right.
called it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, don't get near that stuff. That's like poison. You know, he's telling us about the silica and everything. And like, yeah, okay. And then Rick's like huffing on a bag of dust. Oh, yeah, well, we use this for our trailer.
But Thomas did show you before that red cedar has
Yes, he did.
silica in it.
What?
That's just funny, Rick huffing the bag of sawdust. Oh, that's all good.
I'm gonna put this out there right now, and you guys can laugh all you want. But you go to Tractor Supply, and they got these tea bags full of cedar that you could put in your camping trailer to keep mice out of it for the winter. If they're getting $9 for 4 tea bags of cedar dust, and I think I can get $1 a baggie, don't you?
Yeah, I seen your video the other day. Worth a try. Worth a
Did
try.
you see how he's walking alongside the mill with a bag?
Try a bucket next time.
Waste not, want not.
Oh goodness.
Neil, I had a question for you. You were
Go ahead.
talking about sawing sweet gum.
Uh-huh.
Now, when we live down south, I know you can't split a sweet gum. When you when you take a sweet gum down and try to split it into firewood, you might as well hang it up. It's like hitting rubber.
That's right.
How is it after you saw it into boards? How is it to nail to the wall?
I haven't cut a whole lot of it. I saw the other day a guy brought me 2 sinker logs that I cut. That was beautiful. Beard Lumber might have. I mean, he sounds like he'd cut a lot more of it than I have. Now I have cut. Oh, what other time? I cut some one other time, and we made some catfish boxes with it.
Can you
and,
see it on the wall?
Yeah, we can see it right there.
That's the color and grain and texture out of our southern sweet gum. It has bad habits.
It'll twist on you in a minute, won't it?
Right.
Oh yeah.
If you're wanting to make a dimensional product, you need to oversize the thickness and the width so that you can plane it off to make a good board out of it. But once it is kiln dried, it's as stable as any other product. I nailed that with a 15 gauge nailer, and it took a nail fine, no cracking or splitting. I love it. I've Had a customer in here yesterday, just wanted it. I'm like, I can't get it anymore for about 6 months. My kiln's backed up.
Huh.
That's the biggest thing, though, is once you put it in the kiln, do not go in there because it's got some kind of bug in it that will eat you alive.
Yeah, it's
Really?
so sweet. I walked in my kiln and it in the 45, 50% range. I had to go home and take a shower. Something jumped off on me and just ate me alive.
No kidding.
Wow.
That's one of the few runs we closed the door and didn't go in.
Yeah, stay out.
That's on the sweet gum.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can imagine having 3,000 feet of that in an enclosed space circulating.
Yep.
It was like being in a sugar factory.
Really?
Yep. But I love it.
Listen.
I've got plenty up to cut. We just hadn't been able to get it scheduled to do it because it's so unique. I've had ever longer you could imagine tree cutter, grader come through. Man, I love that. What is it? And they bounce it off what this, that, and the other. I said, you ever dug one up? You cussed it. He said, oh, sweet gum. You know? But something unique.
I know the seeds that come off of sweet gum aren't a joy to step on with bare feet either.
No.
that was in unison.
The only thing worse than them was chestnuts. Grandpa had a bunch of chestnuts, and run around his house with bare feet was a minefield.
I bet.
You had no doubt what you stepped on when you got a hold of a chestnut ball on the ground.
Well, look, guys, hey, I hate to cut it short, but I'm fixing that to depart for tonight.
Good to see you, Neil.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Neil.
Yeah, and
holding that baby, I imagine you have to go.
yeah, I gotta go in here and tend to him, and it's life. That's what it is. But I enjoyed the time on here, and we looking forward for the next one.
Well, thanks
All
for
right,
stopping
thanks,
by,
sir.
Neil. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And we'll see y'all.
We'll talk to you later, Neil. Thanks for stopping
All
by.
right. Have a
Hey,
good
buddy.
evening.
All right.
All right.
Well, let's see who's the only ones left on here with kids would be Craig and Matthew. And Craig's don't even count. They're what, teenagers now almost?
He's got a
Yeah.
grandkid now.
13 and
Granddaughter?
one granddaughter.
Yeah. That's
Craig, didn't you said you needed a Matthew?
Yeah, I'll take Matthew.
Now, I don't know if
Go
you
ahead.
guys remember this, but back in the late 70s, maybe, the tree huggers went on a big campaign about saving the trees and doing away with paper bags and using plastic. Any of you guys remember that?
oh yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Plastic's the way to go. Save a tree, do away with the paper bags, blah, 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 blah. Now what are you hearing nowadays?
Bring the paper bag
Yeah,
back.
you can't even get a paper or a plastic bag in New York.
Nope, you can't. They outlawed them.
Yep.
Wow.
I take a big garbage bag from here to New York every time I go. You want me to bring you one?
Back to paper.
Yeah, we got paper again. And they're free,
do.
believe it or not.
I just find it funny how it circles back around. All these people trying to tell us, and now plastic is bad for you, and paper is the way to go.
Well, trees are one of the greatest gifts that good Lord give this world. They're a renewable resource. You cut them down. You got an oak tree out here that produces tens of thousands of acorns every year. All you got to do is don't cut them or leave them or plant them, and you'll grow more trees than you could ever need.
Absolutely.
I'm not for just willy-nilly cutting. Manage your forest. Whether you got an acre or you got 1,000 acres, manage your forest. When it's dying, decaying, it's time to take it out.
Yep. Here, and that goes right into this. If you leave them alone, if you leave that forest alone, here's what you get: overcrowding, weak, spindly trees.
Yep.
Your fire load builds up fast. Just like you were saying about the hurricane. The insects and disease spread like crazy if you leave them alone. Your invasive species start to take over. We got sassafras here taking over. And the wildlife declines, actually.
And
Now,
that is true.
A lot of people don't
Yeah.
believe that, but that is absolutely true about the
Absolutely
wildlife.
true.
Yep.
Old growth forest does not support wildlife.
Well, I guess we answered that question, huh? Logging is the
What's
enemy
that?
of wildlife. Myth or fact? Myth or
Myth.
fact? Logging,
Myth. That's a myth.
logging's the enemy of wildlife.
Wildlife loves old forest, nothing to eat.
Oh, and there you go, examples from around the country.
Yep.
California wildfires, the Adirondack ice storm. I think you were talking, I looked that one up. It was in 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
can't
you're
remember
right.
when that one was.
Yeah.
And what's bad, John, is they have the city runs out around that park, and they deemed it forever wild, so they don't allow any logging, any clearing of any land of any sort of any kind up here in the park.
Yep.
Which is
And it's-
absolutely stupid, because
Yep,
the first
and
time they get a lightning strike somewhere, it's going to all burn down.
We had Table Rock State Park over here in South Carolina, probably 45 minutes away. The same time we were having the wildfires, they had a bad one over there. Unfortunately, theirs was started intentionally by some kids, but that whole area is run as a state park, so they never do anything other than keep the walking trails up. And there's such a tremendous fire load in there. It burnt the same length our fires burnt here until we had enough rain to basically put it out, because it was in mountainous terrain, and you can't put firefighters on top of a hill coming down to it or under a hill going up to it when you got these kind of winds. It's just a good way to get somebody dead.
Absolutely not.
So all they could do was play containment for a month until we got enough rain to rain it out.
Now, Eric, I want to tell you a funny story about Table Rock since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I took some Boy Scouts and we went camping at the state park, and we
Did you hike the Table Rock?
we climbed Table Rock to the top. On the way down, we were probably halfway down, and we run into a group of hikers going up, clearly city people. And they're like, "How much further to the top?" I said, "Well, you got a ways to go." "Oh my God, we're so hot and thirsty." I said, "Well, they got a restaurant and stuff up there on top, so it's not a big deal."
Oh, Lord.
I said, once you get to the top, they got a restaurant. They got all kinds of stuff. You can sit up there and look at the view. It's really pretty. "Oh, really great." And they took off.
Oh, man.
I don't think I set a good example for my scouts.
No, you did not. I forget, what was it, 4 hour or 6 hour round trip to the top?
About
Yeah,
6
it's
hours.
quite a bit.
It's
And
a
then
tough
they
climb.
had a second mountain that you could go to the top of Table Rock and you could
Yep.
cross over and then come back around, and it was like a 10-hour hike.
Yeah, Table Rock was a tough hike too. It wasn't easy.
Oh yeah. It was 100% mountain.
Yeah, I
You were a
told those
bad
people,
boy.
I said, there's a restaurant up on top. You can get refreshments. Beautiful view. You'll love it.
Which one's a
They
fact?
got all excited.
That one's a fact? You think that's what he's talking about? That one's a fact?
I don't know. That's it. Fact.
Fact or, I don't know. Fact or myth?
Underwear.
Yeah.
I don't know about the
50%
underwear.
Math, 50% sawdust in your underwear.
I get
You don't
I
get
get-
you don't get that unless you got
Pockets
plumbing
full,
crack. Yeah.
I get it everywhere. I don't know about you guys, but it's
I
just
just
everywhere.
end up with pockets full of sawdust.
Yeah.
Me too.
Chainsaw.
There you go.
That chainsaw
This
just
is
puts
a
it
good
right in
one.
your pocket.
Now with this
Oh, yeah.
sitting right here in my stool, I don't get near as much sawdust as I used to.
Oh yeah, keep
Oh,
bragging. Go ahead.
Matthew
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
more of it
Us,
now.
us hobby millers are just gonna have to get the sawdust on us, I guess.
Hey, I still chainsaw all the rounds. He goes out there and gets one's too long. I'll grab the big steel 500i and I'll
Yeah,
bump
but
it.
that's a different sawdust. Those are chips.
See, I get yelled at every night coming in the house with sawdust, and I just explained it to the wife. I said, "That's not sawdust; it's money."
Yeah.
She doesn't agree with me.
It's
No.
man glitter. That's man glitter.
Absolutely.
Yep. I think it's man glitter. Here you go. Here's a good one. What do you think the future of forestry is? You know, teaching.
Well, it depends on our next generation, John. If you're
I
going to
think
be
it
able to
depends
get them
on
off
us.
the couch or not.
Get them in the woods early before they're on the
Yeah.
couch.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they're already been on the couch thanks to COVID.
Well,
Here's one. Here's one that I like. Use the sawmill as a classroom. Man, I'd love to be able to do that. You know, bring
Oh,
your
yeah.
4-H out here, bring your
I would.
FFA out here. You know,
now, forestry management falls into a couple different areas. Around here, we have a forest pine that they plant with the intention of harvesting it every 20, 25 years. That's a clear-cut type harvest. But
Right.
that's completely different than managing a hardwood forest where you go in and you selectively cut the mature trees to allow the 12, 16-inch trees room to grow.
well,
You got to have both. If we don't have the pine industry taking, thousands of acres of clear-cut pine and turning it into paper, plywood, different things, we lose the whole industry. But we don't need the whole country clear-cutting pine.
No.
right. So when my in-laws have their place logged up there in Adirondacks, and we were up there, and the forester who was doing it in selective logging had a place that was clear cut, probably a city block, size. It was he just clear cut, but all they ever do is selective harvest up there. And so I had to ask, I said, why are you clear cutting this? And he said, man, it's bringing in the small trees, it's bringing in the bushes, it's bringing in the wildlife. You know what I mean? He said the wildlife can't. If you just continually selective harvest out of that, you have no open areas. Yeah. You're bringing in no new trees. You know what I mean? You're bringing in no new bushes. You're bringing in no new wildlife. Some of that wildlife can't live in an old forest. An old growth forest.
It takes a good mix of everything.
And and it impressed me that they were doing that.
I'm sure Neil will tell you the same thing down there in Mississippi. They plant thousands and thousands of acres of set out pines, and they create a great forest habitat for 20, 25 years. And they come in, they take it all out. And within 6 months, you've got a canopy back in that forest of just immature weeds, immature trees, while they're waiting on the new growth that they've replanted to come back in and take over. And in 10 years, all that stuff that grew up real quick is dying back out.
Well, I don't know if you guys ever noticed or not, but a lot of times they'll change direction of a road here, and the old road will become unused. And within 10 years, that road is gone.
Oh, yeah.
Between the seeds falling in the cracks and coming up. And I mean, it's just absolutely incredible how nature takes stuff back.
Well, here's one I found on the future of logging. Let me see if I can find it. I should have found it before I.
Oh my gosh!
That would have been a good idea.
Never seen that one.
Again?
There you go. There you go. You know what that is?
A building?
Yep, made of wood.
Is it?
Now,
mass wood.
Yep.
Mass wood structure.
We rode through Raleigh, Durham a year or so back, and there was a bunch of these type dwellings going up, 3, 4, 5-story buildings, and they were all stick framed. And the reason they were stick framed is somebody did the math that they could buy 2x4s and 2x6s and sprinkle the whole building cheaper than they could buy concrete and build a concrete slab 3 or 4-story building apartment complex.
Well,
no kidding.
Yeah, this is.
That's a lot of wood there, brother.
It's called mass timber. It's called mass timber. So it's not like buying a 2x4. you know what I mean, or buying a 4x4 and building a building or anything like that. It's glued together and it's specially made, specially manufactured.
Explain to me
it's-
why we don't have plastic 2x4s in this country instead of all the waste that we put in the trash dumps. Plastic and wood pulp, and you can make
Yep.
2x4s that'll basically last forever as long as you don't light it on fire.
Yeah.
Or you can
Well-
make 8x8s for railroad timbers that we use around our yard that last forever.
There's the other thing with that new building, that new mass timber building, is the fire resistance, you know, in it. Is the fire gets started and it actually chars the wood and then won't burn the rest of the wood because the outside's charred so fast that it won't, it meets all the fire qualifications.
Huh.
It's look, I mean, not as much as brick, you know, of course brick doesn't burn as much as that wood does.
Right.
You
Now,
know,
you northern
but it's-
guys are close to Canada. They're real big on this pink wood that's been sprayed with some kind of anti-fire coating. Is that really worth the effort?
I don't know, but I know that mass timber stuff, they're saying it's worth it. They're saying it's the new steel. I mean, it holds up to earthquakes better than, you know, steel, and almost as good as concrete. It's fire retardant. They're building skyscrapers with it. Structurally sound.
Yeah.
How long is that
You
glue
know?
going to last, though?
Yeah.
Once
I'm
it
not
starts to delam, it's all coming down.
I'm not an
I don't know.
environmentalist, but I am a conservative, and there's no sense in wasting and burying stuff that we could recycle. You know, we recycle good with metal and steel. You know, maybe it's time we learn how to do plastic. And I'm not talking about buying a T-Rex board that costs you $35 for a 16-foot piece of it. You know,
Right.
a reasonable
Right.
price that people would buy and use.
Well, I can tell you right now, a lot of people don't realize it, but plastic can be broken down back into oil. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I've seen some guys using these vacuum type converters to
Right.
turn that back into a petroleum product.
Yeah, it takes heat and vacuum, but you can turn plastic back into a petroleum product.
Hmm.
You
That's
know
what
what he's
I tell
talking
them about wood. We grow it, we harvest it, we make something out of it, build a house. 100 years later, that house gets bulldozed, gets buried, turns back into dirt, and it grows more trees.
right?
It's just like the old body. It's a full cycle. Goes around and around.
Andy, you ever heard of that pink wood he was talking about?
No, fire retardant sprays. I don't think we're dealing with them a lot in the United States, but I
No,
would
it's-
think for commercial buildings like that, it would be required.
No, it can't. It's a big thing in Canada. They
Mhm.
pretty much require it now. All your structural framing is going to have some kind of pink coat, fire resistant spray on it. I'm sure that
Mhm.
adds a lot of cost.
Yeah, Joseph on here saying that a 16-foot by 6-inch by 1.25 inches thick costs $95 of that plastic wood you're talking about.
Yeah, that's
That's ridiculous.
it is.
That's that T-Rex like they use for decking, right?
Right.
All that T-Rex has in it is plastic, wood pulp, and they got a UV protector to keep it from fading out in the sun.
Yeah.
They
And
just,
it does break down eventually, doesn't it?
I was going to say plastic breaks down in the sun eventually from the heat and whatever.
UV.
Yeah.
anyway, that's another recycling topic. We're talking about recycling wood, trees.
So
Did Craig say something? I thought you fell asleep, Craig.
No, not quite.
Oh, good. Okay.
not quite.
It's still early for him.
Yeah.
It's
I
3
know.
hours now. What time is
Dinner
it?
time.
It's starting to get dark.
Dinner time, Craig?
I missed dinner.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So
We had a birthday
Here's one.
party today, so I had an extra piece of cake. I'm good till 11 o'clock.
I agree. I agree with Nomad. I think we need to leave wood simple, just the way it is.
So here's one for you that you don't know. You ready? Half of all kids, I don't know who did the study or anything like that.
Should be drowned.
It was nope. Half of all kids think that trees feel pain.
Oh my gosh.
Feel pain?
Feel pain. But now you ask them if the grass gets hurt when you cut the grass, when your dad goes out and cuts the grass, and they don't think that hurts. Or when the bushes around the house are trimmed, that doesn't hurt. But half of all kids think that trees feel pain.
They didn't dream that up. Some nut and berry told them it.
They don't.
Was that part of the woke crowd that did that?
I don't know. No, that was the American Logging Association in their classes.
No
That
kidding.
they have.
Is that the same kids that like Tide Pods?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know they asked that question.
They just like the
But it was
taste of them.
It was the American Logging Association having classes with kids.
Oh, wow.
And when they take
gotta
those
be
kids
kidding.
out to the forest and the woods and show them the logging process.
You know what they say about history? When we don't learn history, we're doomed to repeat history.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
But
John, I like your idea of doing classrooms at a sawmill. I mean, bring a school out to your sawmill and teach them how to cut wood. That would be awesome.
That's
Absolutely.
one
I
reason
think
I'm on YouTube, is trying to teach the next generation if they want to watch. We're not here to play games. We're not here to laugh and cut up. I'm here to teach and show you what we're doing, sawing, as well as running a business. And I wish I'd had enough sense when I got started to watch somebody like me that was giving you free information. All you got to do is take it in.
We didn't have
you
you
guys.
Yep.
Exactly.
I've had people come out and just, who've never seen the inside of a log, before, and just looking at that, just cutting that open and being able to look at that and see it.
We cut every day. Don't you get excited when you open a new log and see
I
something?
get
single
excited
time.
every hardwood I open, for sure.
I think that's what got me hooked, was opening it up and seeing all the different.
It's like a
aspects
Christmas
of it.
present. You rip the wrapping off,
Absolutely.
see what's there.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's oh man, come here, Matthew, look at this.
Yeah, or
Right.
sometimes it's a gate latch and you're cussing.
Sometimes it's a gate latch. You got to turn the camera off.
I was going to ask you guys, how much metal do you hit with your timber?
A lot.
Quite a bit.
I've got a plastic screw bucket in here screwed to the wall, and it's about to overflow with nails and bolts and latches. One day I'm going to build me an office table.
Just pour it all in there.
How about a electrical connector
Oh my gosh.
from the 50s? I found that in the middle of a 40-inch pine tree.
Oh my gosh.
And I know the guy that cut them. He cut them in 20-foot lengths, and this wasn't a butt cut. So he had to be above 20 foot off the ground.
Holy cow. Yeah, because usually when people bring us wood, we tell them first 8 foot we don't take.
Yard trees.
Yeah, yard trees.
We hit metal. It's cost of doing business.
I've hit numerous clothesline pulleys, but I think the worst I ever hit is I hit a horseshoe in the middle of his log.
Mm-hmm.
They say they used to take horseshoes and hang them up on the limb of a tree, and it would grow into the tree.
I was sawing some white pine this past week that come down from the hurricane. They actually come off my neighbor's property. Cousin over here's tree man grader. He was doing the cleanup and brought it all to me, and I bought it. And I hit a little patch of 2 nails. And as soon as I hit it, I knew exactly what it was, because we have a group around here. It's called the FEDA Trails, where the homeowners give people permission to ride their horses through. And they got a little diamond sign, and it's got a nail here and a nail here. And if it was daylight, I could see one right there on my neighbor's tree. 2 little 10 bitty nails wiped out a brand new blade. I'm like, man, burn it.
Well, you was talking about earlier about those people, that the tree huggers that hated all the clear cut. But you remember years ago out west where they were taking those spikes and nailing them into the trees for whenever they cut the trees in.
They put a few people in jail, and that pretty much put an end.
Oh my God! Could you imagine hitting one of those?
Oh, with my mill, it's a $40 flew up.
Absolutely.
But you take a guy with a big Edmondson sawmill, and he's got a 48-inch blade. That's $3,600 for the blade, and he's got $1,000 more in teeth and locks. And you hope he didn't get hit with the teeth and locks when they come.
Absolutely. Yeah. That horseshoe you hit, Rick, that was with your circle mill, wasn't it?
That was with the circle mill. The worst, that went through the horseshoe. It only dinged like 4 teeth. I did hit a cobblestone in the middle of a tree. That put all the teeth and shanks through the roof.
I bet so.
And messed up the blade. I thought I was done for sure.
Wow.
Had a guy come out, took the blade off the mill and rolled it in his van, hammered it back straight, put new teeth and shanks on it, and put it back on the mill in 2 hours. I couldn't believe it.
Can you see my circle blade hanging up there?
Yeah.
Yep.
I got one. I bought 5 of them off a guy a couple hours from here, a year or so back. I got one left. And you know how all the shanks look nice and turned?
Right.
The pockets. That one's got 2 pockets that look like this. I mean, it ripped the pocket slam out of it. I thought I wouldn't want to have been anywhere around when he hit whatever he hit with it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought for sure I ruined my blade, and the guy come out and looked at it, and he's like, "No, I can fix it." And he rolled it in the van. I said, "You want some help?" "Nope." He closed the doors. "I'll let you know when I'm ready to come out."
That's a lost art.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Hammer one and fix one.
He was an old feller too, wasn't he, Rick?
Yeah, he was an old guy. Yeah, I had a 63-inch blade. 63-inch blade.
They're about like aluminum welders. They ain't gonna let you watch.
No.
I just tell you what I'm doing and give you a bill.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, we lose Handy.
I think he fell asleep, fell out of the chair.
Uh-oh.
Paul hasn't been typing on here too much because usually the other one types on here. I wonder where Paul is.
Now, have you guys had any luck trying to sell wood to the professional industry? I sold my 35 when we bought this 70 to a guy up in Tennessee. And his whole purpose of buying that mill is he had gotten into years ago cutting maple. That's all he cut. Said the longest log he'd ever cut was 5 foot.
Yeah.
He would cut it and book match it, and he'd sell it to Gibson guitars. Just about every Gibson guitar for the last 20-something years has had his maple on the face of it. And he sold his mill, kind of got out for a little while, and got back in it and was renting somebody. So I said, "Well, you need to quit renting. Come by." He was here the next day. But somehow or another, he got hooked up with the industrial market, and that's all he does.
Huh.
Yeah, you can get lucky and hit something like that. I've never been that lucky. We sell mostly to crafters now, people that do crafts.
Yeah,
we do real well with it, but yeah, that'd be nice to get into something like that.
Oh, yeah. I know I'd like to ask Neil because like Remington Arms moved out of up where y'all at in New York in that area, and they moved down to the south, either Alabama or Mississippi. They still got to have a network of buying walnut for all their firearms.
You would imagine.
That would be a good one, if you're in a market where you could buy, that species of lumber.
Right. Well, you got a lot of high-end gun manufacturers that use walnut, so if you could find that niche.
Yep.
I know you can find people that don't want the log for $8 a board foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know down south years ago, Broy Hill Furniture used to buy lumber from people all the time.
Well, yeah, we lost all our furniture manufacturing in the late 90s. It went to China. It's coming back.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, because that was all up in central North Carolina, wasn't it? All the furniture places up there?
Yeah. They was
Like
a
Redder?
bunch of them. Every small town you went in, it was either attached to a cotton mill or attached to a wood mill.
Yeah, it's
Like
right around
some kind of wood
Statesville
products.
area, going out by you guys.
Yep.
I used to drive years ago, and I used to pick up all the chemicals and toluenes and all that stuff from them.
Yep.
Ready? Myth or fact? Right here. Here's two that'll make you crazy. USA
Why
is
are we
leading.
the number one? Or is this? Oh, it's question.
USA is
Importer?
leading importer of lumber in the world. Myth
Well, we
or
used
fact?
to import from Canada. I don't know.
Myth or fact?
The answer to
USA
that
is
is unfortunate.
It's
The
probably
really
answer
is.
to that is horrible.
Fact.
It's a fact.
That's
That's a
what I
fact.
thought. Yeah.
It is a
They're
fact.
leading, and here. Let me see the next one. Yep, and here's the next one.
Yeah.
Our forests are burning or rotting twice as fast as we use them.
Yep.
That is absolutely fact.
Yep, they're rotting or burning, and we're the leading importer of lumber.
Wow.
Go figure that one out.
Well,
You'll figure that one out.
you guys are in different states. Here in North Carolina, you can still build a house with your own timber, but you got to jump through so many hoops to make it happen. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And I know talking to Joe Whitley over at Wood-Mizer of the South, they've tried for several years, and they're trying again this year to pass through a bill like Wisconsin has, to where I, as a sawyer, could go to school and be certified to grade your lumber that you bring to me, saw it, grade it, and you can build a house and basically tell the county inspector to eat dirt.
Yeah. We live up in the Adirondacks, and you can use rough cut, and you can even grade it yourself, but you have to tell them you graded it to number 2 or better.
Yeah.
It takes I think it takes the responsibility off of them.
Right. Well, this is the American dream. Building and owning a home. And we're making it where it's almost unattainable anymore. Around here, a starter home is $350,000, $400,000.
Whoa, holy cow.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah. I've had it'd be Dad's uncle. They sold his place last year. Originally built in the 40s, had the original kitchen, original bathroom, original wiring, a little 1,200 square foot house. Now it was pretty, it was well kept. House and 2 acres for like $350,000 with the original kitchen and bathroom in it. That's too high, people.
Yeah.
The
Now
young
you're talking-
generation they can't afford that.
No, we can't.
My
you were
generation ain't gonna pay that.
Now, we were talking about niches a little while ago. Where we live, there's a lot of houses that are 200 years old, and of course, they were cut. They were built with real 2x4s and real 2x6s. So when people are restoring an old house or redoing an old house, a lot of times we get requests for actual 2x4s and actual 2x6s so they can match what's in the house.
Done some of that, just wanting
That's-
2-dimension stuff to match up an old restoration.
Right.
One of you guys said you lived in Charleston.
We lived in Charleston
Yeah.
just outside of Charleston for 30 years.
Them houses wasn't built out of Lowe's, brother.
No,
They was built off a
absolutely not.
sawmill, and they still standing down there on the battery.
Yep.
And tell me my lumber is not good enough for somebody to build their house out of.
It's
Not good enough
insane.
because Lowe's, Menards, and Home Depot spending billions of dollars out here in our local government to keep me and you out of their business.
Well, look what happened in Western North Carolina with that hurricane that came through, and they wouldn't let these people rebuild with rough cut lumber.
Yeah, they wouldn't let the Amish build them a free tiny home without going through
Right.
all the permitting process.
Exactly.
That's enough of that. Tired
We
of it.
kill ourselves.
Oh,
We kill ourselves.
we could do a whole 3-hour segment on this topic.
Let's
I like
switch to a happier note.
I'd love to
Hey.
get animated for you if we got done.
Hey, John, maybe we should make one of our shows What have you hit recently in a log?
Yeah, we can do that too.
Or we can have a segment on why can't we use real lumber for houses.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Well,
But we have found a way around that, at least around here, is if you get an engineer to put it on the plans, specifically what type of wood and the size, and he puts their rubber stamp on it, the local inspector can't do anything about it.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we've had a customer get a kickback on using a little 4-foot beam that was an 8x12 pecan. They said it wouldn't work.
Yeah, he had to put in a fake beam and then wrap it with pecan because he didn't have the engineer put it on the plan that they was going to use a pecan beam going into their kitchen.
Oh, no kidding.
But that's how you get around the local building codes in most states is if an engineer puts it on the plan, like they're timber framing 6x6s. They're on the plan that is a green white pine 6x6, 16 foot long, and the engineer said it's going to carry the load, and the local inspector does not have any authority over what the engineer says is good as long as he's following building code.
No, that's common sense, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
God
think
forbid.
Neil said they didn't even have to grade their lumber down in Mississippi, didn't you, Rick?
As long as it was
Mississippi.
full dimension.
Yeah, full dimension, right?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I think in Mississippi and Louisiana you're allowed to live in a cardboard box.
well, you know, we've raised a generation that buy and sell houses. My dad's living in a house that he built with his own hands in 1965 and 66. My oldest son's living in a house over here that my grandpa, my mom's dad, built in from 35 to the day he died because he kept adding on to it. But, you know, we've raised a generation that move and buy and sell. Not everybody does that. If a man wants to build a house to spend the rest of his life in, it's really none of my business or yours.
No, that's true. And I don't understand the rules. We just gotten carried away. We could talk, like we said, we could talk about this for another 3 hours.
Oh, I have so many customers that are from New York, not necessarily upstate, but New York City, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Connecticut, that are moving down here in this area, and they tell me what they're paying for property taxes, insurance, and this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, by God, no wonder they're leaving.
Yeah, but it's not bad up here where we are. It's
No,
all
you-
down around the cities.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, they
cities,
get
the
crazy.
cities is what get taxed to death. Our taxes aren't really that bad up here at all.
That's good.
I can
so
tell you the truth
I'll
right.
play
I
the
can
dead-
tell you the truth right
Right.
now. If we got a big earthquake or a big tsunami and New York City were to drop off into the ocean, New York would be a red state almost immediately.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. You would be.
Almost immediately.
Well, Illinois would if Lake Michigan had just come down a few more feet too. So
A little bit of flooding.
yep.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'll play the devil's advocate on the lumber business, and if you don't have some kind of control over that, like Rick just said, they'll be building houses out of cardboard boxes. You know what I mean? And when I buy a house, when your granddad built that house out of sticks and cardboard, and I buy a house, I don't expect cardboard to be in the walls, you know, holding up my house. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be something.
There
I'm
has to
not
be
saying
some control, but we've went to the point to where we don't allow the homeowner, the property
I
owner,
absolutely
to
agree.
build a house that he wants to live in for the rest of his life. He has to go hire a contractor, and then the county doesn't care what the contractor does because he's got a good name and he's building crap. Because I've walked in
Right.
behind and I'm like, who inspected this?
Yeah.
Yep.
But they take the homeowner and they beat him to death because he don't have a license, and they're out there nitpicking every little thing he does. And I've got contractor buddies. What do you do waiting on the inspector? We build without him. Tell him he was too late. You know?
No, I can agree with that too. I can agree with all of that.
You're too
I was
late.
just
No
saying
inspection.
there has to be something. So
Yeah.
it's just like, so here's how I relate that to, and I relate that to in Illinois, right? They passed a bill. Indiana passed a bill too, actually, that in order for me to sell eggs out of my house along the road,
Yeah.
farm eggs, I've got to have a food handling license, and my chicken house has to be inspected twice a year.
See,
I have to pay $160 twice a year to have my place inspected, and I have to pay $80 twice a year to have a food handling license.
see,
And you
here's
gotta
the
have a
dirty little
commercial
secret,
food
though.
handling license.
Your legislator didn't dream that up. Some big egg company went to your legislator with millions of PAC dollars and said, hey, pass this law to get him out of my egg business. And that's
You're
what
right.
they've done with sawmills is
And
these
that's-
big timber companies have went in and spent billions
exactly
of dollars
right.
of PAC money and said, put the local sawmill out of business. We want to buy it from us, and we'll sell it at Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, and we'll buy it from Canada.
Right.
Yep.
No, you're exactly right. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just telling you how I relate
Somewhere
it to.
we've got to move the pendulum back and have a little balance, and for the homeowner to be able to afford the American dream and not be 50 years in debt and die in debt, just trying to have a home.
You're correct. You are correct.
It's common sense. You got to get some common sense back into this.
Yes.
I think we're going to be getting that in the next 4 years, to be honest with you.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, things are starting to move, but I mean,
Things are moving. Things are moving in the right direction
But even with that,
what we're
Craig,
doing.
he has fought tooth and nail every little thing he does. Every little thing.
Absolutely.
Well, the way to stop that
Absolutely.
is good people like you and me stand up and have their back and say,
Absolutely.
we've had enough of this crap. We want America back to what America is. A man be a man, a woman be a man, live the American dream. Get out here and do it. If you want it, earn it. If you don't, go sit in the corner.
I think we all told him that on this last election. I think we all told him that.
Now, John, you were talking about building a house out of rough cut. I built this log cabin I'm sitting in. I cut every stitch of lumber in this house, including the roof, the joists. But I had a building inspector come out each phase of the house and inspect it. He's like, well, you're overbuilding it, but I'm overbuilding it.
Yeah.
So as long as you got an inspector that can come out and look and say, okay, you're doing it right, then what's the problem with rough cut?
Right.
Matthew's going to build a house here another year or so, and every stitch of that wood is going to come off that mill, go through that kiln, and go through that molder planer, and go into his house. And I'll fight with every piece of breath I've got to fight the state to make it happen.
There you go.
You can get out of that loophole if you're not having to borrow money from a bank. You can do whatever you want.
Well, in this state, the biggest thing I got over your head is electricity. If you don't ever get a certificate of occupancy, the power company will never turn your power on.
Correct. It was like that in South Carolina too.
Yep.
Well, guys, I hate to cut it short, but I need to get going.
Where are you going?
Bed.
Bed? Oh my God.
Craig, it's not 5 o'clock here.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate
We are
you.
on the East Coast.
What time is it? 11? What is it out there now, Greg?
Oh, it's 10 to 9.
9
It's 10 to
o'clock.
9. I've got some MP260 to be doing here in a minute.
Well,
right,
Eric
so
and Matthew, I appreciate you guys coming on. This has been a blast tonight. You guys have been awesome. Thank you very much.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I appreciate it too. I'm glad you did.
You guys are
Hey,
welcome.
and thanks for the hat.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. Anytime.
2 more. 30 years ago, California had 150 sawmills. Now they have 27.
I'm surprised if they have
Commercial.
27.
I'd be
Commercial
surprised.
sawmill.
Yep.
That's a fact. Here's another one that goes right along with that. It's my last one, I promise. Right here, fact. California imports 80%.
Fact. Fact.
That's a fact.
Surprised it's not 100%.
Fact.
Is that crazy? Is that
Well,
that's,
you're talking California.
Yeah.
I know, but that's nuts to me. You know, some
California-
of those things.
Just like every other state out there, if you'll take off Los Angeles, San Francisco,
Seattle.
San Diego, it's a red state.
Yep. Portland,
Yep.
Seattle, Washington. Same thing there.
Yep.
And why the coasts have gone so extreme is beyond me. I don't get it.
They like to fly.
Population density.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't get it. I don't
Big,
get it.
big cities overrule the rest of the state. It's happening everywhere.
Thank the good Lord for our founders that had enough sense to put in electoral college and not a democracy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, Eric, we
Bye.
appreciate you coming on tonight. It's been a blast. You're welcome to join us anytime you want to come on.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you
Nice.
soon.
Yeah, I'm glad you got it listed on your channel.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
have
awesome.
him on. Have him give us a 200-hour review on that 70.
We'll do.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
We got
say
about
goodnight,
another 50 to go.
everybody. Say goodnight. Just hang on. Hang on here a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
But to our crowd out there, thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate it. And until next month,
Thanks
I
again.
guess we will see you later.
Third Saturday every
See ya.
month. We'll see you then.
30 to 10. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We want to thank everybody for stopping by the show tonight. And remember, it's the third Saturday of every month that we all gather and are on the show. See you later, guys.